Chapter 241. Sect Master Qin, I still have a question. Sect Master Li, feel free to ask. Li Fei calmed himself down and coughed lightly. The spirit domain is not as vast as the true dominion. Even a spirit martial realm cultivator would need more than 1 or 2 days to traverse the entire spirit domain. If foreign cultivators come, will your sect not be able to provide support in time? As soon as he said this, everyone's eyes flickered. This question, they had thought about it before, but they had to bring it up at the right time. However, Li Fei had said it out loud. That would be for the best. Hearing this, Qin Shujian's expression remained calm instead, and he said, My sect will station 5 domain enlightened spirit gods in every single sect. Of course, this depends on your own opinion. As soon as he finished speaking, many people's faces froze. They naturally knew about the 3 realms of the spirit martial realm. The main point was the problem of stationing 5 spirit god realm cultivators. If these cultivators went to the various sects, who would be the boss? However, if they refused, no one dared to refuse. After all, they had paid 2 million taels. If they really encountered a situation beyond their reach, it would definitely be troublesome. Looking at everyone's expressions, Qin Shujian said, Within a year, I will open a teleportation door at a suitable place with Cold Mountain City as the center. At that time, it will not be a big problem for all parties to come and go. The people stationed there can also be withdrawn. Open a teleportation door. Does Sect Master Qin know an array grandmaster? Many people revealed astonished expressions. Only an array grandmaster could open a teleportation door. However, a cultivator of this level. He was very rare in the entire Bayun mansion. More people. They belonged to the imperial court. Idle grandmasters were like drifting clouds and wild cranes. They were not easy to find. However, if they could find one, with the identity of the spirit domain's domain lord, they might be able to invite such a person. Since I dare to make such a promise, I will not fool everyone. The 2 million taels of silver is definitely worth it. You should relax. Qin Shujian smiled confidently. Array grandmasters could open a teleportation door. Forging grandmasters could do the same. It could even be said that, after reaching the level of a grandmaster in forging, one's control over runes was much stronger than that of a formation grandmaster of the same level. In the end, the Tao of formations was just a branch of the Tao of forging. Now, he had only used 1 million life force to become a master alchemist. In that case, he would be promoted from Master Forger to Grandmaster Forger. Qin Shujian estimated that it would be around 10 million yuan. Previously, when he was close to 6 million life sources, the Ancestral Forging Codex did not show any signs of improvement. So he guessed. The gap between Master and Grandmaster should be about 10 times. As for the 100-fold, the possibility of that happening was minuscule. 1 year. It was enough for Yuan Zhong's people to contribute tens of millions of contribution points to him. This was also the reason why. That was the reason why Qin Shujian was so confident. Speaking of which, he changed the topic and continued. I presume that all of you have already seen the appearance of my Cold Mountain City before coming here. I wonder if any of you are interested in settling down here? I believe that it won't be long before this city becomes the most prosperous city in the entire Liang Mountain Spirit Domain. I wonder what kind of conditions are required to enter this place. Yang Zhongning asked first. With Yuan Zhong's current reputation, the future of Cold Mountain City was promising. Qin Shujian said, the shops are different in size and location, so the rent will naturally fluctuate. In addition, every year, my Yuan Zhong will take 5% of the net profit from the shops as tax. As a price, my sect will have experts stationed in the city to prevent any unruly people from doing anything out of line. After he finished speaking, everyone's expression changed slightly. It was obvious that they were considering this matter. Then, Qin Shujian stood up and said in a deep voice, If you have any ideas, you can discuss it with my sect's elder Su. While they were talking, Su Yuanming had already come in from outside. Farewell, Sect Master Qin. As his voice fell, Qin Shujian had already left the city lord's mansion. 3 days passed. The people of the 12 sects sent over 2 million silver as promised. After checking, Qin Shujian stored all of them. At this time, Gu Feng from the Changyun Trading Company had arrived once again. Along with him, there were a lot of people, and the things that Yuan Zhong needed this time. In the courtyard, Gu Feng sat opposite Qin Shujian, feeling the surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth. He couldn't help but sigh. In less than a year, Yuan Zhong has changed completely. I knew that Sect Master was not an ordinary person, but now it seems that I have underestimated him. Looking at Qin Shujian in front of him, the pressure he was under was not small at all. When he was just a bandit leader, he had already seen how extraordinary the other party was. But no matter what, Gu Feng didn't think about it. A bandit leader could one day reach the level of Spirit Region's Domain Master. Spirit Region's Domain Master. In his memory, he had only heard of it from rumors. And only this time, Qin Shujian had a breakthrough. While looking through the ancient books, Gu Feng only knew that the last Spirit Region's Domain Master was about 2,000 years ago. Any Spirit Region's Domain Master. In the future, they would at least be God Martial Realm cultivators. If there were no accidents, it was not impossible to become above God Martial Realm. What did a God Martial Realm cultivator mean? Now, the Carrier Trading Company had 5 peak God Martial Realm cultivators in charge, establishing their position as the #1 trading company in the Great Zhao dynasty. Thinking of this, Gu Feng felt a little dreamy. As Spirit Region advanced, the Carrier Trading Company had also begun to invest large amounts of manpower and resources into this new spirit realm. They were prepared to do well in this new spirit realm. His position as the branch manager was not taken away. Not only was it not taken away, instead, many experts were sent to assist him. Unknowingly, Gu Feng had gone from a small ordinary realm branch manager to a spirit realm branch manager. Although his cultivation was not slow at all, he had almost reached the inner aura realm. But compared to the rise in status, it was a completely different matter. He was very clear. The change in his status could not be separated from Yuan Zhong's halo. Haha, I'm afraid there is still a gap between Yuan Zhong and those large sects of Spirit Region. Seeing Gu Feng, Qin Shujian was in a good mood. Actually, this time, I have another matter to discuss with Sect Master Qin. Feel free to speak your mind. The trading company heard that Cold Mountain City has been opened. Many people value your sect's potential and want to obtain a place in the city for our trading company to set up a branch. What does Sect Master Qin think? Gu Feng said in a low voice. Okay. Qin Shujian did not think for too long and slowly nodded. If Cold Mountain City wanted to expand, apart from Yuan Zhong's influence, more trading companies were bound to move in. Similarly, Yuan Zhong wanted to take a portion of the profits and taxes. It was also because Cold Mountain City had enough people. Or else, the profits were next to nothing. Next, after the two discussed the relevant matters, Gu Feng stood up and said goodbye. Qin Shujian did not try to save him. But just as Gu Feng left, then, someone else came forward. If meeting Gu Feng just now was to give him face, then Qin Shujian really had to personally meet the person from the Baiyun Marquis Mansion. It was still the same place. The difference was, when Xiao Hong looked at Qin Shujian now, he was looking at him as an equal. When the Marquis heard that Sect Master Qin broke through to the spiritual martial force and became the domain master of the Cold Mountain spiritual region, he was very happy. But because the Imperial Court is busy, he did not have time to meet you. He specially ordered me to come and congratulate you. The Marquis is so considerate. I don't deserve it. Qin Shujian replied with a smile. The more powerful one was, the more one could understand how powerful the Imperial Court was. In the Baiyun Mansion, including the Cold Mountain spiritual region, there were a total of 18 spiritual regions and 5 large regions. The Great Zhao had a total of 13 mansions. One could imagine how many powerful people there were in the cultivation world. Even so, the Great Zhao could suppress the entire cultivation world for thousands of years and maintain the orthodoxy of the Imperial Court. Just thinking about the power it contained was enough to shock people. As for the Marquis Baiyun being able to control a mansion, the power in his hands was definitely not weak, although he did not know how strong. But it was not something Yuan Zhong could contend against. Moreover, the Marquis Baiyun had always taken care of Yuan Zhong. Qin Shujian also had a good impression of him, so he had to give him face. Xiao Hong's storage ring flashed slightly, and a sandalwood brocade box appeared. He immediately handed it over. Qin Shujian took it with a puzzled expression. When the Marquis heard that Sect Master Qin helped a region to break through, he was very happy and asked me to bring this over. Consider it a congratulatory gift from the Baiyun Mansion to Sect Master Qin. The Marquis is so considerate. Qin Shujian quickly recovered and kept the box. Although he did not know what the Marquis Baiyun gave him, since it was a gift from the Marquis Baiyun, that meant that it was definitely not an ordinary item. Since the establishment of the Baiyun Mansion, the domain master of the spiritual region has never appeared. Sect Master Qin's move is really shocking. Xiao Hong's smile faded and he said seriously, "However, there are some things that Sect Master Qin needs to treat with caution. The advancement of a spiritual region is enough to attract the attention of other spiritual regions and even the large regions. Although Yuan Zong is not weak. However, it wasn't wise to fight against the other forces on his own. The Marquis belongs to the imperial court. Although he thinks highly of Sect Master Qin, it is not good for him to interfere too much in the cultivation world." While speaking, he looked at Qin Shujian's expression and continued, "Sometimes, concealing one's strength and biding one's time is not necessarily a bad thing. With the current power and influence of the Yuan sect, no one will dare to take the initiative to provoke us." This Qin naturally understands Steward Zhao's meaning. However, Qin Shujian gently put down the teacup in his hand, but a cold look appeared in his eyes. There are some things that if you retreat, the disadvantages will outweigh the advantages. Chapter 242. At this moment, Xiao Hong seemed to have seen an unyielding will from the other party. That kind of will, although it was not very strong for him, who was in the god martial arts realm, it was extremely pure. Even, there was something that couldn't be explained clearly. Regarding this, Xiao Hong stopped talking about this issue and said with a faint smile, "Since Sect Master Qin has his own ideas, then I won't say much. But the Marquis once said that, if Yuan Zong is in trouble, the Marquis of Northern Cloud will not sit idly by. It's just a battle in the cultivation world. It's not good for the imperial court to intervene directly. I hope Sect Master Qin can understand this. I hope Steward Xiao can go back and thank the Marquis for his kindness." The cold light in Qin Shujian's eyes dissipated. He raised the teacup in his hand and slightly motioned to Xiao Hong. Seeing this, Xiao Hong also raised his cup and responded, "I will naturally convey Sect Master Qin's words." Not long after, Xiao Hong also got up and left. He had done everything the Marquis of Northern Cloud asked him to do. There was no need to stay in Mount Liang anymore. Regarding this, Qin Shujian also got up to see him off. At night, in the bedroom, Qin Shujian took out the sandalwood brocade box that Xiao Hong gave him during the day and then opened it. There were 3 bluish-white pills that were about the size of an adult's thumb. Along with the opening of the box, a wisp of fragrance also overflowed from it. Just a simple sniff was enough to make people feel relaxed and happy. This is the spirit consolidating pill? Qin Shujian picked up one of the pills. After a few glances, he immediately recognized the origin of the pill. When he automatically checked its attributes with his spiritual eye, it was indeed as he knew. It was the spirit consolidating pill. The 5th level pill, the spirit consolidating pill. There was only one effect after taking it. That was to help cultivators who had just broken through to the spirit martial arts realm to quickly stabilize their divine sense and make their divine sense grow. But judging from the 3 spirit consolidating pills, he knew that what the Marquis of Northern Cloud gave was indeed what a normal cultivator needed to break through. He could also see that the other party attached great importance to him. It's a pity that the spirit solidifying pill is of no use to me at the moment. However, it's still a tier 5 medicinal pill after all. Every single one of them is quite valuable, so it's not a waste. After putting away the spirit consolidating pill, Qin Shujian sat cross-legged and silently cultivated the Gui Yuan ancestral scripture. It was a mid-grade spirit-level cultivation technique. The upper limit was the 6th level of the spirit martial realm, which was also the peak of the airborne realm. Right now, he was only at the 5th level of the spirit realm, and there was still a certain distance away from the 6th level. He did not need to rely on his life source to deduce, and he could directly cultivate. As Qin Shujian calmed down, he calmed down. His divine sense spread out from his body, and in the blink of an eye, it drifted above Mount Liang. It was as if he could see the entire Mount Liang in his eyes. If someone had a spirit eye, a huge illusory figure could be seen hovering above Yuanzong. That was the spirit god. As he breathed in and out, naturally, a huge amount of spiritual qi of heaven and earth surged over. The spiritual energy entered the spiritual deity. Then, following the guidance of the spirit god, it fell directly on Qin Shujian's body. Rumble. It was as if the sea was overturned in his dantian. A large amount of spiritual energy surged in, causing the true origin to surge like waves. A bright king hellfire took root in it, as if it would last forever. A person's dantian. There was a limit. Originally, when Qin Shujian cultivated the ocean origin returning technique, his dantian had already doubled in size compared to other true martial realm cultivators. And when he broke the limit of the true martial realm, the spirit god was born. It also broke some kind of shackle, causing the capacity of his dantian to increase by several times. Although the characteristic of the ocean origin returning technique disappeared after fusing with the cultivation technique, it did not disappear in the true sense. Instead, it was fused with the immortal king body. As the Gue Yuan ancestral scripture improved, the level of the immortal king body also continued to increase. Qin Shujian could clearly feel that the capacity of his dantian increased with every level of the immortal king body. Although this increase was not as terrifying as the true martial realm, which directly increased by 10%. But with the 5th level of the immortal king body, it also expanded his dantian by about 20%. Combined with the original increase, he had a premonition. The capacity of his dantian's vital essence had already far exceeded that of cultivators of the same level. As for how big the gap was, he still needed to fight with people of the same level to know. One had to know. The more vital essence one had, the greater the increase in a cultivator's strength. Although a spirit martial realm cultivator gave birth to a spirit god, it did not mean that he completely abandoned the role of vital essence. Only when the two were combined could he truly display the true strength of a spirit martial realm cultivator. The spirit god was in a trance. He sat in the void. He freely absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The amount of spiritual energy he absorbed every second was dozens of times more than when he was in the true martial realm. Although there was the bonus of the title of Liang Mountain Region Lord, but it also explained the difference between the spirit martial realm and the true martial realm. A night passed. At dawn, the spirit god that occupied the void was immediately taken back by Qin Shujian. Just at this moment, the sky was white, and a faint ray of light dispelled the darkness. The spirit god returned to his body. It brought back a huge amount of spiritual energy of heaven and earth, causing the vital essence in his dantian to be vast. The immortal king hellfire that took root became even brighter. Huff! Qin Shujian exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, and a strong wind rolled up. Just a moment ago, the moment when the sky was about to break, a huge threat surged into his heart, causing him to directly wake up from his cultivation state. Then, he quickly took back the spirit god. A newborn spirit god is still too weak. Even if I reach the 5th level of the spirit martial realm, I can't let the spirit god directly face the sun. Otherwise, even if it doesn't turn into ashes, it will be seriously injured. Qin Shujian's expression was quite dignified. Although the spirit martial realm was powerful, it was much more dangerous than ordinary cultivators when cultivating, unless one reached the 7th level of the spirit martial realm or above. Or else, the spirit martial realm cultivator's divine sense needed to avoid the existence of the sun. This made Qin Shujian feel. The so-called divine sense was a bit similar to the Yin god that he understood in his previous life. At night, it could travel the world. During the day, it could only hide itself. It seems that I have to improve my strength as soon as possible. Whether it is because of the weak spirit god or the threat of foreign cultivators, it can't be separated from this. After a simple wash, Qin Shujian opened the door. The morning dew could still be seen on the branches and leaves of the osmanthus tree. His divine sense became stronger and stronger. He could also feel that the osmanthus tree planted in his courtyard seemed to be breeding something. It seemed to be spiritual intelligence, but it was extremely weak. In view of this, Qin Shujian didn't interfere too much. If one day this tree could really give birth to spiritual intelligence, it would be its opportunity. If it couldn't, that was also something that couldn't be forced. Sitting down on the stone bench, Qin Shujian directly took out the map that Xiao Hong gave him before. After spreading it out on the stone table, he could see that there were already obvious black marks on many places on the map, all the places that were marked. It meant that the sealed demons had been destroyed. According to the records on the map, in the Bayun Mansion, there were a total of 79 places where demons were sealed. Some time ago, Zhang Ergu and Zhao Shanlin had destroyed no less than 30 seals of demons, and combined with the demons that died in their hands. Now, there were only about 38 seal locations recorded on the map. To improve my strength, I must have enough life force. It is difficult to make any changes in a short time by relying on my own hard work. But now, to improve a realm, I need more than a day or two of life force. If that's the case, I guess I can only start with luck points. Looking at the seals of demons recorded on the map, Qin Shujian already had a plan in his mind. If he couldn't improve his realm, then he would improve external objects. Whether it was the Qinkuan Bao or Qian Shangsu, their strength was not comparable to ordinary cultivators in the spirit martial realm, especially Qian Shangsu. As a two-seal Taoist artifact, it was enough to let an airborne realm cultivator match the existence of the peak of the spirit martial realm. A two-seal Taoist artifact was like this. If it could be improved to the third or even the fourth seal level, then, with just one Taoist artifact, it was enough to deter cultivators from other realms and make them not dare to act rashly. However, in order to improve a two-seal Taoist artifact, the luck value needed was definitely not small. Previously, when he used 300 luck value to smash it, Qian Shangsu only had 2 more lines, and it was still a little short of condensing a half seal. In Qin Shujian's opinion, if all the remaining demons were to be killed, the luck value collected, it should be able to help Qian Shangsu to the level of a 3-seal Taoist artifact. As for the promotion of the sect level, there was no need to think about it in a short period of time. The promotion from level 5 to level 6. Even if it was an optimistic estimate, it would require more than 1,000 luck value. If it was not optimistic, the luck value required was enough to make people despair. Looking at the entire 18 spirit realms of Bayun Mansion, except for his Yuan sect, which was a level 5 force, no other force had reached the level of level 5. As for whether there were any level 5 forces in the large realms, Qin Shujian did not know, but there was a high probability. It was impossible for there to be a level 5 force. After all, when other sects and forces were promoted, they either expanded their territory and slowly increased their luck or collected enough innate spirit objects. This was the territory of the Great Zhao. If a sect dared to expand their territory to increase their luck, it was no different from a rebellion. Not to mention whether it could increase the level of the force. The next moment, it would be the end of the sect being destroyed. Moreover, with the existence of the imperial court, the luck of hundreds of millions of territories belonged to the Great Zhao, and no sect could snatch it. Therefore, if other sects wanted to increase the level of their force, they could only collect innate spirit objects. However, it was difficult to collect innate spirit objects, and Qin Shujian had a deep understanding of it. If they only relied on innate spirit objects to promote, Yuan sect was probably still a level 2 or 3 force, not to mention a level 5 force. At the same time, Qin Shujian also noticed something. Except for himself, other sects did not have the ability to kill demons and snatch their luck, nor did they have the ability to annex other forces to promote. These abilities were more like the source of life and belonged to oneself. Regarding this, Qin Shujian did not announce it to the public. If some things were leaked out, the trouble it would cause was not something a spirit realm master could solve. Chapter 243. In the ancient city, Qin Shujian directly used the teleportation gate. This was the Cold Mountain Protectorate Lord. There was almost no one in the Cold Mountain Protectorate that he did not know. The Imperial Court was in charge of the teleportation gate. In the Bayun Mansion, the Imperial Court also had a portrait of Qin Shujian. Therefore, after seeing Qin Shujian, after confirming his identity, the person guarding the teleportation gate, after collecting the corresponding fee, respectfully sent Qin Shujian away. When he entered the teleportation gate again, Qin Shujian could clearly feel the power of space that had been added to his body. In an instant, a bright light appeared. It was as if there were thousands of runes flashing within it, displaying the ability to move the stars. This time, the teleportation, Qin Shujian did not relax at all. In a breath's time, the scene changed. The unique title of the Cold Mountain Protectorate Lord had completely disappeared. Soon, Qin Shujian directly left the teleportation gate's range and walked out of the city. This was Dingzhou City, located in the true Dingbian Dominion. The distance from the Cold Mountain Protectorate, it was already more than 10 true dominions away. The reason he came here, it was because an evil demon was sealed in the ordinary dominion, which was close to the true dominion. It was an 8-star array. It was a powerful evil demon that was sealed. Perhaps it was because of the great distance between them. Although the style of Dingzhou City was somewhat similar to the Cold Mountain Protectorate, there were obvious differences. A large number of local citizens mixed with a large number of players, making the place somewhat crowded. There was nothing that could be done about it. This was because there were simply too many players. There were so many of them that they could be found everywhere. Based on Qin Shujian's understanding of the Cold Mountain Protectorate, he knew that the number of players in the Protectorate had already reached 1 million. This was a very large number. Fortunately, the Protectorate was vast. Even though the Cold Mountain Protectorate had just been upgraded, its territory was still not small. 1 million players were thrown in. It could only cause some ripples. It was still far from being able to cause a huge wave. Why does that guy look so familiar? A player asked as he stopped in his tracks and watched Qin Shujian walk through the crowd, confusion flashing in his eyes. As Qin Shujian logged into the forum more and more frequently, Qin Shujian began to log into the forum. His image was deeply etched in people's hearts. However, because there were too many NPCs in the game, there were almost all kinds of faces. Even if he saw Qin Shujian face to face, very few people would recognize him directly. At most, he did find her familiar. The more he looked at Qin Shujian's back, the more he thought about it. The more familiar it was to some people, the more familiar it seemed. Then, she couldn't help but chase after him. In the end, no matter how he chased, he couldn't close the gap at all. Instead, as time passed, the distance between the two parties grew wider and wider until they finally disappeared into the vast sea of people. F***CK. Don't you think that he looked like Mount Liang's Fort Master? Now that you mention it, they do resemble each other. However, Mount Liang's Fort Master always carries a saber on his back, while this person is all alone. They probably just look alike. The players looked in the direction Qin Shujian had disappeared and had no choice but to stop. If they didn't remember wrongly, Qin Shujian should be in Mount Liang's spirit domain at this moment. Mount Liang's spirit domain was separated from Dingbian's true dominion by a vast territory. It was impossible for him to appear here. Combined with the image in the forum video, then, they compared him to the person just now. Although they were both in green robes, Mount Liang's Fort Master always carried a long saber on his back and almost never left his body. As for that saber, now, he was famous among the players. Yuan Sect's sect guarding Dao artifact. In the eyes of the players, it was an unparalleled divine weapon. After taking a few more glances, the players could only turn around and leave regretfully. If Qin Shujian was a big boss in the past, then the current Qin Shujian in the eyes of the players was a hidden NPC with unfathomable cultivation. After all, ever since he established Yuan's sect, he no longer took pleasure in killing players. On the contrary, many players had joined Yuan's sect, and most of them were still living very comfortably. Many players were secretly guessing. If they could join Mount Liang's Fort Master, they might be able to soar into the sky. But unfortunately, until now, they had not heard of anyone being chosen by this big boss. Or else, they would definitely be able to reach the sky in one step and join the ranks of the top players. On the other side, Qin Shujian had already walked out of Dingzhou City and was heading toward the ordinary realm recorded on the map. As for the scene of the players following him just now, they could not hide from his senses. But for him, killing players wasn't fun at all. Their levels were not high. The source of life that they contributed was also very little. Even if he killed tens of thousands of players, it could not compare to the source of life obtained from killing a spirit martial realm demon beast or a spirit martial realm cultivator. After exiting Dingzhou City, Qin Shujian had wanted to use his spiritual force to lift himself up and fly in the air to reduce the time spent on the road. However, just as he had this thought, he realized that his spiritual force was suppressed by the shackles of the true dominion and could not be used much. Although this kind of shackles, in Qin Shujian's opinion, they could be broken with a wave of his hand. However, there was only one outcome if he entered a region of a lower level with a higher cultivation realm and used his original cultivation realm to break through the shackles. Heaven's punishment would befall him. He would turn into ashes. This did not matter if he was the Protectorate Lord of the Spirit Protectorate or a divine martial realm cultivator. In the face of the heavenly punishment, they would all die. In that case, Marquis Baiyun and the others could fly in the air, not simply by relying on their spiritual force. They might have used other methods. Qin Shujian had originally thought that Marquis Baiyun and the others relied on their spiritual force to fly in the air. However, he had experienced it personally now. He realized that his spiritual force could not fly in the air at all under the suppression of the shackles. Either the spiritual force of Marquis Baiyun and the others was so powerful that they could still lift themselves up even under the suppression of the Earth domain shackles, or they had other methods that he did not know about. He shook his head. Qin Shujian was too lazy to think so much. Since his spiritual force could not fly in the air, he might as well use his footwork to fly in the air. He took a step forward and rose into the air. Then, a weak spiritual force enveloped his body, causing his speed to increase significantly. He rushed toward the border of the True Dominion. It took less than 3 hours. He had already reached the border of the True Dominion. When Qin Shujian stepped out of the True Dominion and entered the Ordinary Dominion, the weak spiritual force that had enveloped his body was immediately suppressed to the point that it did not exist. The shackles of the Ordinary Dominion are much stricter than the shackles of the True Dominion. Qin Shujian was not too surprised by this. After all, in terms of fragility, the Ordinary Dominion was much more fragile than the True Dominion. Accordingly, the shackles becoming stronger was also a self-protection method of heaven and earth. As he stood in the air, Qin Shujian took out a map. After looking at the precise location, he immediately put the map away and rushed in a certain direction. After obtaining the map, he had already thrown the essence-corroding bone powder into the corner of his storage ring. He had not used it much. In a valley filled with fog, suddenly, a person stepped into the air. His valiant aura suddenly penetrated the fog and landed in front of an 8-star flare array. A valley again. Qin Shujian shook his head and lamented helplessly. The person who sealed the evil spirits would not change locations. Almost all the locations of the seals in the Ordinary Dominion were in the same valley. There were only a few occasionally. They were at the bottom of some cliff. As he looked at the surrounding fog, Qin Shujian used to think that it was formed by the natural environment. However, now that he was a blacksmith master, he could see the hidden runes in the void. The fog was not fog. It was a concealment array. The runes are hidden in the void. The person who did this must be at least an array master or a blacksmith master. However, he should not be a grandmaster yet. Qin Shujian looked at everything around him as he pondered silently. In the eyes of ordinary people, the runes were hidden. However, in his eyes, they were no different from being on the surface. He was also a blacksmith master. Qin Shujian was at the top of this level. He was only one step away from breaking through to the grandmaster level. Of course, it wasn't an easy task to take that step. Perhaps in the next moment, it might take decades or even centuries. Breaking through at this level required luck and coincidence. It was not something that could be achieved by simply relying on hard work. Subsequently, Qin Shujian moved his gaze away from the valley and finally fell on the 8-star array in front of him. Compared to the runes hidden in the void, The runes engraved on the 8-star array were the real highlight. The demon sealing runes were engraved with Jotion's number and then absorbed the power of the earth as an eternal kinetic seal. The 8 bronze pillars were the foundation of the array. The combination of the two was a demon sealing array. Although there are still some small loopholes in the method of engraving runes, compared to the demon sealing array that made up Jotion's number, such small loopholes are insignificant. This kind of demon sealing array can only be broken with the array Dao or with blood. If one wants to break the seal purely by brute force, I'm afraid that ordinary spirit martial realm cultivators may not be able to do it. Moreover, it's impossible for there to be a spirit martial realm cultivator in the ordinary dominion. Looking at the array in front of him, Qin Shujian clicked his tongue in wonder. Although he knew that the blacksmith Dao and the array Dao were different paths to the same goal. However, when he saw a complete spirit formation, he was still somewhat attracted. When he saw the great demon sealing formation, he was shocked. Qin Shujian finally understood. Although the array was a branch of the forging Dao, after so many years of evolution, it already had some things that the forging masters could not grasp. But a pure forging master like Shan Yuqing, she did not think that the array Dao could surpass the forging Dao. This was also because the forging masters looked down on array masters from the bottom of their hearts. But now, Qin Shujian also had some thoughts about the array Dao in his heart. It was also runes. Although the forging master could arrange it into an array, or engrave it on an object or engrave it in the void, however, array masters obviously had a deeper understanding of the Dao of array formation. If the array set up in Liangshan City, it was Qin Shujian's foundation as a forging master. Then the demon sealing array in front of him, it had already surpassed this category. Chapter 244. The longer he looked at the array in front of him, the brighter Qin Shujian's eyes became. Cold Mountain City was directly refined into a huge spiritual weapon by him as a forging master. But at the same time, there was also a huge array around it. That formation was indeed powerful. However, he had used his status as a top-notch forging master to directly carve runes in the void and arrange them into a formation using brute force. Such a method. It was relatively shallow. It was just that Qin Shujian himself was a top forging master. He had a deep understanding of runes. Therefore, the runes carved in Cold Mountain City could exert 100% of their power. However, the great demon sealing array of 8 stars was completely different. If the array of Cold Mountain City could exert 100% of a forging master's strength, then this array, it was to exert 200% or 300% of a forging master's strength. This was the difference between a forging master and an array master. Although the lineage of array masters has abandoned the method of casting runes, they have taken a different path in the field of array formation. Their specialization has already reached the pinnacle of perfection. When I go back this time, I should collect some information about array masters. If I can get some of the methods of array masters, then my identity as a forging master will be more deterrent. Qin Shujian revealed a slight smile. Then, he temporarily put this thought aside and then focused his attention on the great demon sealing array. Just now, he was comprehending the mystery of the array. This time, he was looking for a loophole in the array. Because Qin Shujian did not intend to use blood to break the array, but he wanted to compete with the array master who set up the array to see if he could break the array with his identity as a forging master. Breaking the array. Sometimes, it was not necessarily harder than setting up an array, especially for someone like him who had a deep understanding of runes. Perhaps when he found a loophole in the runes, he could easily break the array with his methods. More than 10 minutes passed. Qin Shujian suddenly moved his finger. A rune condensed from his hand and then fell on a corner of the 8 stars array. In an instant, the 8 stars array seemed to flash faintly. It's effective. Looking at the great demon sealing array that was faintly shaken, Qin Shujian smiled in his heart. That rune, it just so happened to land on a flaw in the formation. Although the flaw wasn't big, it could only be said to be a very small flaw. But it also depended on whose eyes it was. In the eyes of the master forger, no matter how small the flaw was, it could be enlarged. Very soon, Qin Shujian used his finger as a pin, his natural qi as the foundation, and his meager spiritual qi as the ink. He wrote dozens of runes in the air, and they fell into the 8 stars array one by one in a strange arrangement. Boom! A powerful wave of energy erupted from it. The entire valley began to tremble. The 8 bronze pillars glowed brightly at first, then cracks appeared on them, and they shattered with a bang. As for the octagonal starlight formation below, at this moment, cracks had also appeared on it as monstrous demonic chi desperately struggled to escape. Rumble in the sky. Lightning filled the sky. The moment the demonic chi appeared, black clouds that seemed to be able to crush the entire valley condensed. Purple lightning flashed within the clouds like thousands of wild snakes, and a terrifying heavenly might spread out. At this moment, Qin Shujian had already retreated to the side. Although he was not afraid of lightning, however, he didn't have the habit of being struck by lightning. Crack! The powerful lightning struck. When the evil spirit had just emerged from the seal, it met it head-on. When the demonic chi erupted, it collided with the lightning. 1 bolt, 2 bolts, a total of 21 bolts of lightning struck, and a terrifying sea of lightning was formed in the valley. The demonic chi that overflowed from the seal, more than half of it was directly scattered. However, as the evil spirit completely appeared, more demonic chi erupted and directly dispersed the sea of lightning. Although the black clouds in the sky were still there, but no more lightning fell. Perhaps the power of the lightning had been exhausted, or perhaps it was because after the evil spirit withstood 21 bolts of lightning, there would be no more lightning punishment. Roar! A roar that didn't sound like a beast's roar spread out, and a terrifying wave of energy instantly spread out. A figure that looked similar to a human, but was 20 feet tall, stood there, roaring at the sky. Its lower body was surrounded by a dark green armor made of unknown material, and the upper half of its body was engraved with black lines, as if it was filled with an evil aura. As for its head, it wasn't much different from an ordinary person, except for the fangs that protruded from both sides of its lips, which looked particularly ferocious. At this moment, the demonic chi in the valley exploded. However, when the demonic chi neared Qin Shujian, it seemed as though it had met with an invisible barrier and couldn't get any closer at all. At the same time, Qin Shujian's spirit eye shone slightly, and he had already checked out the attributes of this evil spirit. Name: Evil Lord Wan Chuan. Title: Identity: Faction level: Cultivation state. Other than the name, the other attributes were all blank. It could be said that, if not for the fact that his spirit eye had the ability to see through loyalty, its usefulness was getting lower and lower. On the other side, when Evil Lord Wan Chuan was observing with his spirit eye, he seemed to have sensed something. When his line of sight followed Qin Shujian, he realized that there was another person standing there, because Qin Shujian's aura was really too low. And who are you? The person who will kill you. Haha. As though he had heard something laughable, Evil Lord Wan Chuan's face was filled with killing intent as he scoffed coldly. How dare a mere human spout nonsense in front of me? Forget it. Wait till I turn you into a general under my command, and turn this entire place into a demonic land. Sure. Let's see if you're the one who turns me into a demonic disaster, or if I'm the one who kills you first. Qin Shujian chuckled casually. He then took a step forward. Boom. His strength that had reached the limits of the ordinary realm exploded out instantly as a dragon appeared on his back. The roars of the dragon seemed to pierce through the 9 heavens. Bloodchi Dragon. Evil Lord Wan Chuan's heart skipped a beat. Before he could react, Qin Shujian formed a hand seal with both hands, and a horrifying aura rumbled out from the void. When the seal landed, it turned into an illusory mountain that suppressed down. Great Desolation Demon Suppressing Seal. Moving Mountain Seal. This is Great Desolation Demon Suppressing Seal. Evil Lord Wan Chuan calmed down instead as he scoffed coldly. Blood Chi Dragon, and the Great Desolation Demon Suppressing Seal in your hands. So, this is the source of your confidence. Today, let me show you what true unparalleled means are. After he finished speaking, demonic aura surged and turned into a huge palm print that collided heavily with the illusory mountain. The terrifying strength of the two exploded. Qin Shujian's body shook slightly. Not only did the pressure from evil Lord Wan Chuan not cause him to retreat, it even pushed him forward. At the same time, he struck out another great desolation demon suppressing seal. In an instant, the demonic aura dissipated. Evil Lord Wan Chuan saw this and punched the air. His huge body seemed to contain boundless strength. Boom! The fist and seal collided. Both of their bodies shook. Qin Shujian's face was calm as the blood qi in his body boiled violently. After obtaining the immortal Bright King body, his body had undergone a transformation, as though he had unlocked some sort of taboo. Boom! This time, Qin Shujian didn't use the Great Desolation Demon suppressing seal anymore. Instead, he used his absolute strength to strike out a final punch. Evil Lord Wan Chuan's face changed slightly, but he wasn't fearful because of this. In an instant, they had already exchanged blows more than 10 times. This time, in order to obtain enough life source faster, Qin Shujian had already lent the Qian Kuren Bao and Qian Shanshui to Zhang Ergu and Zhao Shanlin so that the two of them could go to other places to kill the demons. He, on the other hand, went there alone to kill the Sealbreaker. This wasn't arrogance. It was after gathering 4 universal heavenly lock. Qin Shujian had absolute confidence in his own strength, no matter how strong the demons were. That was after they had recovered to their peak. But under the suppression of the shackles, he was careful enough to kill them with his own strength. This was the confidence of a territorial lord. Boom! With a punch, there seemed to be the sound of wind and thunder gathering in his body. The originally fierce punch was now many times more terrifying. Instantly, evil Lord Wan Chuan was forced to retreat. Qin Shujian's feet were like a shadow, but his attacks didn't stop for even half a breath. The Gue Yuan ancestral scripture only had 5 characteristics. In fact, it was a stronger characteristic after combining the characteristics of the previous cultivation techniques. Just talking about the Immortal King body, it was a terrifying ability after combining the characteristics of the Immortal King body, the Indestructible body, the Wind Thunder True technique, and a series of other cultivation techniques. Even Qin Shujian himself, he still hadn't figured out the limits of the Immortal King body. Evil Lord Wan Chuan, he was the best target for him to test his fusion of cultivation techniques and the results of his breakthrough. At this moment, demonic aura surged out from the seal, but it couldn't spread in all directions. Runes appeared in the void, forcefully suppressing the demonic aura in the valley. 2 figures, one big and one small, exuded a terrifying aura. They fought crazily, and every blow shook the valley, and the mountain rocks were all turned into dust. Boom! As he was forced to retreat, a terrifying punch landed on evil Lord Wan Chuan's chest. As the violent power exploded, the black runes on the evil Lord Wan Chuan's body seemed to come alive. However, accompanied by a dragon's roar, the black lines flickered for a moment before a portion of them collapsed. Wan Chuan seemed to have suffered a heavy blow for the first time as he coughed out dark green blood. His 6-foot-tall body was sent flying. Haha! Qin Shujian laughed wildly, and his long hair danced in the wind. An 8 trigrams mark appeared under his feet, and he instantly stood up and came in front of evil Lord Wan Chuan. This is the supreme technique of an evil demon. It's an eye-opener. A simple sentence. The attack landed on evil Lord Wan Chuan's body, who was still in the air. Terrifying power. It caused his body to crack, and blood flowed out continuously. Evil Lord Wan Chuan was shocked and furious. He wanted to fight back, but he realized that he couldn't do it. The terrifying attack made him feel suffocated. Boom! Boom! A deep pit appeared on the ground, and evil Lord Wan Chuan's body lay in it. His cracked body had already corroded the ground. Seems like I'm the one who killed you first. Qin Shujian's posture was arrogant as his battle intent soared to the heavens. Under the horrified gaze of the evil Lord Wan Chuan, a terrifying illusory figure appeared in the void. Subsequently, a palm came crashing down, completely devouring the evil Lord Wan Chuan. Great Desolate Demon Suppressing Seal. Demon Suppressing Seal. Chapter 245. Boom. As the palm landed, evil Lord Wan Chuan fell to the ground, unable to move, along with the flow of blood. At this moment, the destroyed black lines actually showed signs of being restored. Under the surging demonic aura, the wound that had been torn open. Now, it was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. I admit that you are not weak, but if you want to kill me, you are still far from it. Evil Lord Wan Chuan slowly stood up from the deep pit, his ferocious face revealing a maniacal smile. My nefarious devil clan is immortal. Immortal? Qin Shujian laughed coldly. In the next moment, he had already disappeared from the spot. A huge fist punch towards evil Lord Wan Chuan's face. Terrifying power. Blood splattered as evil Lord Wan Chuan was sent flying. Immediately after, like a storm of attacks, it was unleashed once again. Immortal. To others, the scene just now might have been intimidating. But to Qin Shujian, he only responded with a cold chuckle. The number of evil demons that had died in his hands, not to mention 100 or 80, but at least 10 to 20. The so-called immortal. But because the power of the attack was not enough, it gave the evil demons time to recover, allowing them to absorb the demonic aura. As long as the attack was strong enough, it exceeded their recovery limit. Then, the immortal. It was just a smurf. If he had a Dao artifact, he would naturally be able to kill the evil demons instantly. But now, even without a Dao artifact, Qin Shujian was confident that he could beat evil Lord Wan Chuan until his mother couldn't recognize him. Boom, boom. It was as if thunder had exploded in the valley. Loud and dense sounds could be heard from time to time. Evil Lord Wan Chuan was completely suppressed by Qin Shujian. At the start, he was still able to put up some resistance. But now, he could only passively take the attacks. This feeling of humiliation from being suppressed and beaten by others made him explode with rage. But, no matter how furious he was, evil Lord Wan Chuan had to admit a fact. The strength of the person in front of him was indeed terrifying. Although it was impossible for him to be comparable to his peak, but in the ordinary realm, he couldn't compete with him at all. When? Another expert with such terrifying strength and limitless potential had appeared in the human race. Such a person, if he were to ascend to the divine martial realm in the future, he would definitely be a terrifying expert. Woo boom. I want to boom, boom. Take a look, boom. Can you still? Boom, boom, boom. Gee boom. How long? He barely managed to finish his sentence. Evil Lord Wan Chuan had already endured countless attacks, and all the power that had gathered caused his body to crumble once again. The black runes were like a net that was shattered inch by inch, but under the immersion of the demonic aura, they were recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. It's enough to kill you. Qin Shujian's fighting spirit didn't weaken in the slightest. Instead, it became even more intense. Inside his dantian, which had expanded several times, there was an astonishing amount of true essence. Now, under the shackles, it was even more so after being diluted into true qi. After fusing with the 7 cultivation methods, the Gue Yuan ancestral canon also had a recovery power that shocked the other spirit martial realm. Almost every strike would consume a large amount of energy, and he would be able to recover almost immediately. As for those who reached the level of transforming their qi and blood into dragons, his qi and blood were like an oven, and it was almost impossible to completely exhaust them. Therefore, evil Lord Wan Chuan wanted to wait for his true qi to dry up and his qi and blood to weaken before finding an opportunity to counterattack. That was just wishful thinking. Boom! Another punch was thrown. Evil Lord Wan Chuan was directly smashed into the mountain wall. There was a terrifying tremor. Countless cracks appeared on the mountain wall, as if it would shatter at any moment. Looking at evil Lord Wan Chuan's body that was still recovering, Qin Shujian suddenly had a thought. The bright king hellfire in his dantian surged and spread along his arm, instantly enveloping his entire arm. Although the bright king hellfire was burning fiercely, he didn't feel the slightest bit of heat. Then, another palm strike came down. When the palm landed on evil Lord Wan Chuan, The bright king hellfire immediately spread along the palm toward evil Lord Wan Chuan's body. Bang! Evil Lord Wan Chuan retreated. The powerful force caused his physical body to shatter once again. But this time, his physical body didn't recover. What is this? Looking at the bright king hellfire burning on his body and the black lines that it passed through disappearing inch by inch, evil Lord Wan Chuan couldn't help but reveal a look of fear on his face. Monstrous demonic chi surged. Not only did it not extinguish the bright king hellfire, instead, as if it had encountered some fuel, the bright king hellfire burned even more fiercely. No, impossible. How can there be such a thing in this world? How is this possible? Feeling his physical body disintegrating bit by bit, evil Lord Wan Chuan was finally afraid. Although the demons couldn't die and could be reborn in the demon abyss, but no one really wanted to return to the demon abyss and suffer the eternal loneliness. More importantly, the nefarious devil clan's undying body was actually restrained by an unknown flame. This was perhaps a big deal for the entire nefarious devil clan. Ignoring evil Lord Wan Chuan's shock, after seeing that the bright king hellfire was effective against the demons, Qin Shujian activated the bright king hellfire in his dantian again and continued to attack. This time, under the restraint of the bright king hellfire, evil Lord Wan Chuan could no longer use the demonic chi to recover endlessly. Every single attack landed. His body broke apart. The dark green blood didn't even have a chance to splatter on the ground before it was incinerated by the bright king hellfire. As the last bit of the black pattern was destroyed, evil Lord Wan Chuan's body suddenly exploded. You have obtained 10 luck points. The system notification came as expected. In Qin Shujian's vision, there was only the corroding yuan bone powder on the ground. The difference was, on the corroding yuan bone powder, there was still the bright king hellfire burning. The demonic chi in the surroundings seemed to be attracted and gathered towards the bright king hellfire. Instantly, the bright king hellfire burned even more fiercely. Until the end, the bright king hellfire that was burning to the extreme slowly turned into a pale red fire lotus floating in the air. The demonic chi in the valley had already disappeared, and even the corroding yuan bone powder on the ground had disappeared. His senses landed on the fire lotus. Qin Shujian didn't feel any threat. Instead, he felt a sense of familiarity from it. He walked forward. Then, he stretched out his hand towards the fire lotus. In the end, Qin Shujian easily held the fire lotus in his palm. Then, the fire lotus entered his palm and turned into pure energy that entered his dantian. Boom! The bright king hellfire burning in his dantian seemed to have become stronger. At the same time, Qin Shujian felt that all aspects of his body, including his divine thought that had been suppressed, seemed to have suddenly become stronger. Such a change. His expression abruptly changed. If before this, his spiritual god was still at level 5 spiritual martial realm, but after devouring the fire lotus, it directly crossed the boundary of level 5 and reached level 6. Even on the attribute panel, his spiritual god was still at level 5. But the changes in his body did indeed exist. When he looked at the source of life again, at this moment, it also increased by 50,000 points all of a sudden. In an instant, Qin Shujian thought of the red lotus just now. Killing an evil spirit only increases my source of life by 10,000 points. Now that I devoured the fire lotus, I can directly obtain 50,000 points of life. In other words, killing an evil spirit can give me a total of 60,000 points of life. And this doesn't include the increase in my body after devouring the red lotus. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but take a deep breath. If he didn't know the use of the Bright King Hellfire before then this time, on a whim, the method of using the Bright King Hellfire to deal with evil spirits was a huge use for Qin Shujian. In this way, if he killed other evil spirits in the future, the benefits would be much higher than before. Soon, Qin Shujian thought again. If the Bright King Hellfire could have such an effect on evil spirits, then would it be the same for other demonic beasts and even enemies? On this point, he still needed to experiment. After all, using the Bright King Hellfire to deal with enemies, this was the first time Qin Shujian did this. It seems that after integrating with the Guiyuan ancestral scripture this time, I got 5 characteristics. Except for spiritual god and longevity, the other 3 characteristics still have a lot of room to explore. At present, the immortal bright king body should have opened some kind of secret of the physical body, so that I have more power than before. The bright king hellfire can incinerate evil spirits and transform them into fire lotuses to provide life and increase strength. Then the last one, divine will, should be the only characteristic that hasn't shown any effect. Divine will. Just from the name alone, Qin Shujian could be sure that it was extraordinary. However, he still had no idea what the use of this characteristic was. After thinking for a while, Qin Shujian decided not to think about this problem for the time being. Since he had this characteristic, there would naturally be a time when it would be useful in the future. Looking at the dilapidated valley, the demonic aura had long disappeared, and there was no trace of the existence of evil spirits. Even the land that was contaminated by demonic aura under the burning of the bright king hellfire, the demonic aura inside was completely dispelled. Immediately, Qin Shujian stepped into the air and directly left the valley. Then he rushed towards Dingzhou City. Now there were still many places to seal evil spirits. Although they were now divided into 3 groups to kill the evil spirits, they still needed time. After discovering the use of the bright king hellfire, he hoped to kill more evil spirits as soon as possible. This way, not only could he get luck points, but he also had a lot of life and could directly improve his strength. Others used the teleportation gate. They needed a period of time to buffer. But for Qin Shujian, with the immortal bright king body, the spatial fluctuations of the teleportation gate didn't seem to affect his physical body much. Naturally, he didn't need much time to adapt. Soon, Qin Shujian entered Dingzhou City again, revealed his identity, and stepped into the teleportation gate again. Chapter 246. In a short 5 days, Qin Shujian kept shuttling through the portal and killed 11 demons in a row. Most of them were demons. All of them were above the 8-star formation. Apart from that, this was actually an even faster method. Zhang Ergo and Zhao Shanlin could kill demons below the 8-star formation with their Dao artifacts. If they wanted to deal with demons above the 8-star formation, they would need 2 Dao artifacts to work together. This way, it would undoubtedly greatly increase the time to kill the demons. So, Qin Shujian directly let them deal with the demons below the 8-star formation. As for the above, he left it to himself. He had the Wisdom King Hellfire. Whether it was the demons of the 8-star formation or the 9-star formation, they were all unable to resist the burning and were all devoured by it. After devouring 11 red lotuses in a row, Qin Shujian felt that his spirit god had grown to an extremely strong level. It had surpassed the 5th level of the spirit martial realm. It had even surpassed the level of the airborne realm. It was just that the level of the technique was still at the 5th level of the spirit martial arts, causing his strength to be unable to perfectly increase. However, even so, he was only a cultivator at the 5th level of the spiritual martial realm on the surface. In fact, he had already reached the airborne realm. Until now, the originally blank luck value. Now, it had already reached 310 points. He looked at the map. All the demons above the 8-star formation had been dealt with. There weren't many demons left. Qin Shujian was too lazy to continue rushing. He was afraid that when he arrived, the remaining demons would have all been dealt with. So, after thinking for a while, Qin Shujian directly passed through the portal and returned to the Liang Mountain Spirit Domain. The current Liang Mountain Spirit Domain was a little calmer. After all, in order to stabilize the situation in the cultivation world of the Liang Mountain Spirit Domain, the Yuan sect could be said to have used all their resources and thunderous methods. No matter what status the cultivators had, as long as they dared to cause trouble, they would be killed. As for the original major sections, now, the Yuan sect had also sent a certain number of spirit martial realm cultivators to take charge. Although they might need to support the 5 masters, but at least, the sect was temporarily not in danger of being destroyed. When Qin Shujian returned to Yuan's sect, at this moment, Yuan's zone had changed greatly. In just a few days, the collapsed buildings had all been repaired. while the other buildings had all been renovated and expanded several times over. As for the inherited martial hall, this was the face of Yuan's sect, so it was even more so. However, the only thing that didn't change was it was probably the small courtyard where Qin Shujian lived. He had personally instructed that no one was to touch it. They arrived at the foot of Mount Liang. Looking at the stone steel that Yuan Zong was repairing, Qin Shujian suddenly stopped in his tracks, only to see the words Yuan Zong carved on a large, glossy rock. Who was the one who wrote these two words? He didn't pay much attention to it himself. In any case, it was the matter of Yuan Zong. Qin Shujian had been handed over to the other elders to handle. Unless it was a very urgent matter, he would not be bothered with it. These two simple words were like dragons and snakes dancing wildly, giving people a pleasing feeling when they saw them. However, when he looked at it seriously, he felt that something was missing. Subsequently, Qin Shujian walked forward and touched the two words Yuan Zong with his palm. Then, as he slowly touched it, the stone powder fell. When he retracted his palm, there was no trace left on the big rock. Immediately after, he stood in front of the big rock without moving. After a while, Qin Shujian used his finger as a pen and wrote something on the big rock. In almost a breath's time, the two words Yuan Zong were written in one go. After doing all this, he retreated a distance. When he looked at the big rock again, a smile finally appeared on his face. Not bad. This is the word that is worthy of Yuan Zong. Although it was not as pleasing to the eyes just now, but if one looked at it seriously, these two words were not that simple. Qin Shujian had spent the past few days fighting. Although he had killed 11 demons in a row, the fighting spirit in his heart had not dissipated. Now, with the fighting spirit in his heart that had not dissipated, combined with his own essence, energy, and spirit, he finally wrote these two words. If one did not look at it seriously, then it was nothing. If one looked at it seriously, someone would definitely notice the difference. But whoever could discover this point would be considered an individual's opportunity. It could also be considered a little hidden trick that Qin Shujian had left in Yuan Zong. It could be considered a small surprise for the people of Yuan Zong. Then, Qin Shujian directly went to find Jingfang. During this period of time, did the sects in the outer regions have any other abnormal movements? Now, the sects in the various regions are just biding their time. As for the rest of the spirit martial realm cultivators, as long as they made a move, they were all killed by us. The rest were all frightened. But Zhang Fang stroked his short beard. His old face was a little more dignified. The sects in the various regions have not sent anyone to negotiate with our Yuan Zong. Instead, they seem to be indifferent to the Liang Mountain Spirit region. I am worried that these sects have other intentions. The calmer it was, the more it meant that things were not simple. In the face of a new spirit region, it was impossible for these sects to not be moved. But to say that they were afraid of the power of Yuan Zong was completely unreasonable. After all, although it was Zhang Fang's first time coming into contact with the sects of the spirit region, but he had also sent people to spy on the other sects after the Liang Mountain Spirit region had advanced. One thing was certain. With Yuan Zong's current strength, he would be able to crush any sect if he went up against them alone. But if there were many sects at the same time, he was afraid that he would not be able to catch them. The reason was, it was because most of the spirit martial realm cultivators in Yuan Zong had just entered the spirit god realm. As for the other sects of the spirit region, almost all of them were sects that had existed for thousands of years. In each of the sections, they all had cultivators at the third stage of the spirit martial realm. This was the foundation of the sections. Although Yuan Zong's strength had increased very quickly, he lacked the accumulation of time. In the end, his foundation was still somewhat lacking. After hearing Zheng Fang's words, Qin Shujian could also understand that this matter was unusual. After pondering for a while, he said, "Pay close attention to the movements of the other sects, especially the few cities in the Liang Mountain Spirit region that have teleportation gates. I have already sent people to keep an eye on them." "That's good." Qin Shujian nodded slightly. No matter what the other sects planned, for him, the longer he delayed, the better. As long as he delayed long enough, then he would be able to obtain enough life source and increase his strength. Through the teleportation gate, he appeared in the ancient city. Zhao Shanlin carried a long saber on his back and was rushing towards the boundary of Liang Mountain. However, not long after he left the ancient city, Qian Shanxue behind him sent a subtle fluctuation, which made his heart tremble slightly. Suddenly, Zhao Shanlin stopped in his tracks and at the same time, took Qian Shanxue off his back. As his mind spread out, he shouted coldly, "Friends around. There's no need to hide. Just come out and meet me." After saying that, his voice echoed in the surrounding dense forest. However, there was no movement at all. "Since you don't want to meet me, then I won't accompany you." After Zhao Shanlin finished speaking, he directly walked forward. However, as he walked, suddenly, there were terrifying attacks from both sides, accompanied by powerful spirit god attacks. Hum. The long saber hummed softly and turned into lightning that filled the sky. The power of a Tao artifact instantly appeared. The powerful spirit god was instantly destroyed by Qian Shanxue's power. Then, Zhao Shanlin held the long saber in one hand, and two Tao seals appeared on it. As the saber slashed down, a vast power instantly erupted. Boom! The three attacks gathered together and directly exploded with a terrifying fluctuation, within a radius of 100 feet. All the trees were destroyed. 8 figures appeared and directly surrounded Zhao Shanlin. Zhao Shanlin held the saber in one hand and spread his spirit god. It was as if he had eyes on his back, and he saw everything around him. The faces of the 8 people in front of him were very unfamiliar. However, it did not hinder the terrifying aura emanating from their bodies. They were at least in the 3rd level of the spirit martial realm. Perhaps they had even reached the airborne realm. In comparison, Zhao Shanlin was only in the 1st level of the spirit martial realm and had just entered the spirit god realm. However, with Qian Shanxue in hand, he did not show any fear when facing 8 opponents who were far stronger than him. "I'm confident that I've never met any of you before. Why did you attack me?" Rumor has it that the Origin sect has 2 Tao artifacts, a saber and a bow. Their might shook the spirit region. Now it seems that they are really extraordinary. The power of a 2-sealed Tao artifact is so terrifying. One of the people facing Zhao Shanlin looked at the Qian Shanxue in his hand, and uncontrollable greed appeared in his eyes. A 2-sealed Tao artifact. Only a sect with an extremely deep foundation could possess such a Tao artifact. When facing such a precious treasure, not to mention spirit martial realm cultivators. Even spirit martial realm cultivators would be tempted. Why waste words with him? Quickly kill him and take the Tao artifact away. This place is too close to the Origin sect. If we delay for too long, it'll be difficult to avoid being noticed. Although the Origin sect does not have experts above the 7th level of the spirit martial realm. However, those 1,000 over spirit god realm cultivators are also a difficult thing to deal with. One of the people on the side shouted coldly. Hearing that, the others did not say anything else. They all took out their own weapons and attacked. In an instant, the Qian Shanxue broke free from Zhao Shanlin's control and directly floated into the air. 2 Tao seals appeared on the crystalline saber, and terrifying lightning spread out. Then the energy saber slashed down and directly blasted towards the 8 people. Energy exploded. The spirit artifact shone brightly and collided with the energy saber. However, it was merely a single exchange. Their energy shattered, and the spirit artifact collapsed, forcing several people to retreat repeatedly. Some were even careless. They were directly blasted by the energy saber. When they fell to the side, they could not help but spit out a large mouthful of blood. A middle-aged man's expression changed drastically when he saw that. Then, he took out a square seal and smashed it towards the Qian Shanxue. The seal soared through the air and seemed to transform into a mountain range. It fell towards the Qian Shanxue, and a Tao seal flickered within. Chapter 247. It was as if it was being provoked. Qian Shanxue, who was nurtured in the sea of lightning, slashed out. The shadow of a long saber tore through the air and shattered the mountain. Then, it slashed heavily on the seal. Bang! The seal trembled violently and flew backward. In front of a 2-sealed Tao artifact, A one-seal Dao artifact was still a little weak. Why are you still hiding? Hurry up and suppress this Dao artifact. With a furious roar. Immediately, two more Dao artifacts appeared. One was a long sword, and the other was a pagoda. Both were one-seal Dao artifacts. The seal that had been sent flying had returned to its original position. As a Dao artifact, although it had been slashed by a saber, it was not damaged. Then, the three Dao artifacts joined forces and suppressed Qian Shanxue. In an instant, the sound of a saber resounded through heaven and earth. A terrifying saber energy slashed out toward the three Dao artifacts. On the other side, with the appearance of the three Dao artifacts, Zhao Shanxue's expression changed slightly. Although the three Dao artifacts could not suppress Qian Shanxue, they could also suppress the power of the Dao artifacts. In this way, the power protecting him would be reduced by a lot. When he saw the people who were attacking him, he finally felt a great amount of pressure. In the courtyard, Qin Shujian was tasting his spirit tea when a saber hum that seemed to have crossed 1,000 mountains entered his ears all of a sudden. His expression froze for a moment before it turned gloomy. In the next breath, the teacup was left on the stone table, but the person was gone. At the border of the Lingxi True Domain, the battle still did not stop. Kill. Wang Quan's expression was gloomy. The spirit god treasure did not appear, but the true origin in his hand unleashed a fierce attack toward Zhao Shanxue. With a flash of lightning, it turned into an energy saber and slashed down, obliterating most of his attack. Qian Shanxue's power was beyond his expectations. Under normal circumstances, although it was impossible for three one-seal Dao artifacts to defeat a two-seal Dao artifact, it was not a big problem to suppress the other party and make it unable to protect its master. But now, Qian Shanxue was able to unleash power to protect Zhao Shanxue while fighting three Dao artifacts alone. It was obviously beyond the scope of an ordinary two-seal Dao artifact. Could it be a top Dao artifact that gave birth to the third seal? Thinking of this, Wang Quan's face turned even uglier. He had intended to end the battle quickly, but now there was nothing he could do. However, he wasn't willing to retreat just like that. However, looking at Zhao Shanlin, who was relying on the prowess of the Dao artifact and was still not defeated by the combined attacks of the 8 people, he also understood that this operation could be considered a failure. When Wang Quan unleashed his final attack, he immediately retreated and shouted, "We've wasted too much time. Let's retreat." While speaking, with a wave of his hand, the Dao artifact seal fell into his hand. Seeing this, the others had no choice but to stop midway and retreat into the air. They had no choice but to retreat. If the Yuanzong powerhouses arrived, it wouldn't be easy for them to retreat. "You think you can leave?" A thunder-like roar resounded, instantly causing the hearts of Wang Quan and the others to tremble. The spiritual deity that had been nurtured in their minds had also become somewhat fearful. When he turned around to look, he saw a person flying over. Qin Shujian. Seeing the other party's face, everyone recognized the identity of the person who had come. Retreat. Wang Quan was greatly shocked, then he immediately fled without thinking. To be able to fly. This meant that the other party was at least an expert above the 4th level of the spiritual martial realm. Moreover, he was the domain master of the spirit region. His strength was definitely not something that people of the same level could contend against. Although there were 8 of them now, when it came to a real fight, whether they could defeat him was a problem. However, once they were entangled by Qin Shujian, when the numerous spiritual gods of the Yuanzong arrived, only death would await them. Stay. As his divine sense spread out, a spiritual deity appeared and stood directly in the sky. Then, with a wave of the spiritual deity's hand, thousands of cyan threads shot out. It was a huge threat. It forced Wang Quan and the others to turn around and deal with it. As they propped up their energy, the cyan threads didn't seem to be obstructed at all. They directly penetrated the energy and then fell towards them. Instantly, the Dao artifact and spiritual artifact on Wang Quan and the others emitted a powerful intent and once again turned into a shield to block. However, the shield formed by the Dao artifact blocked the attack of the cyan threads. However, The protective shield formed by the spiritual weapon only lasted for a split second before it was shattered. In an instant, the 5 of them screamed and directly fell from the sky. As for the remaining 3, they didn't directly fall because they were protected by the Tao artifact. However, because of the sudden attack, they were forcefully kept on falling. Everything happened in a split second. When Wang Quan reacted, he could only see the spiritual deity standing in the sky like an enlarged version of Qin Shujian. No matter how the sun shone on it, it didn't show any signs of collapse. Instead, under the blazing light, it was like a god that had descended to the mortal world. Spiritual deity manifestation. You're an expert of the Vision Divine stage. The instant he saw the spiritual deity manifestation, Wang Quan felt as if his chest had been hit by a heavy hammer. He almost couldn't breathe. He looked at Qin Shujian as if he had seen an inconceivable existence. Spiritual deity manifestation. It was a realm that only experts above the 7th level of the spiritual martial realm could reach. If the spiritual god realm was just the beginning and the airborne realm was considered to be the next level, then the Vision Divine stage. It was the true peak. Any expert who could reach the spirit god realm could be considered a true expert in the spirit martial realm. Even within the large sects of the spirit domain, people of the Vision Divine stage, they were also experts that could suppress a sect. Originally, when he saw that Qin Shujian could fly, Wang Quan could still accept it. After all, it wasn't strange for a level 5 force to increase one's realm. But if it was the Vision Divine stage, that would be too unexpected, and it could even be said to be world-shocking. Moreover, looking at the huge spiritual deity that was 30 meters tall in the sky, it was definitely not a level that the 7th level of the spiritual martial realm could reach. Even the 8th level of the spiritual martial realm would find it hard to have such a spiritual deity. It was definitely close to the peak of the spiritual martial realm. Under the pressure of the terrifying spiritual deity aura, Wang Quan and the others didn't know whether to advance or retreat. Only the dense light of the Tao artifact appeared on their bodies, allowing them to not be affected too much by the powerful divine sense. Sect head. Looking at Qin Shujian who was flying over, Zhao Shanlin directly bowed. Qin Shujian waved his hand, indicating for him to retreat. As for Qian Shanxue, who was standing in the air, after he appeared, he directly retracted all of his power and instantly fell into his hands. The scene. For a moment, it fell into a strange silence. The 5 people who fell down had their spiritual deities heavily injured. Although they didn't immediately lose their lives, they could only lie on the ground and struggle at death's door. Looking at the huge spiritual deity in the sky, their eyes were filled with despair. The spiritual deity manifestation. It wasn't something that airborne realm cultivators could fight against. They wanted to escape, but their spiritual deities were heavily injured, and they couldn't even condense much true essence. Moreover, how could they escape in front of a Vision Divine stage expert? Soon, Wang Quan couldn't hold it in anymore. He directly took out the seal in his hand and instantly broke through the spiritual deity's suppression. Then, he took the seal and wanted to escape. As for the other 2 who had Tao artifacts, they also made the same choice. Seeing this scene, Qin Shujian stood in place without moving. The spiritual deity's finger in the sky sank into Qian Shanxue. Then, a huge saber was directly pulled out from it and immediately slashed forward. The saber fell. In an instant, it tore through the air and turned into 3 terrifying saber auras. The 3 Tao artifacts flashed with brilliance, but just as the shield rose, it was directly destroyed by the saber auras. Wang Quan and the other 2 didn't even have time to react. Their bodies directly exploded, turning into a bloody mist that filled the sky. Then, the 3 Tao artifacts didn't stop fleeing. Wrapped in broken flesh, they continued to escape into the distance. Their speed was fast. It was just like a meteor flying by. Qin Shujian frowned slightly. The spiritual deity instantly returned to his body. When he let go of Qian Shanxue, he was already in the air chasing after one of the Tao artifacts. As for Qian Shanxue, he turned into a streak of lightning and chased after the other Tao artifact. In the sky above the Liang Mountain spirit domain, Several streaks of light streaked across the sky one after another, and the aura of heavenly might directly spread out. Such an unforeseen event. It directly shocked many people. That's a Tao artifact. A spiritual martial realm cultivator saw the streaks of light that disappeared into the sky. He immediately flew into the air and chased after the Tao artifact. On the other side, after chasing for more than 10 minutes, Qin Shujian directly stopped. The Tao artifact long sword in front of him was already a small pitch-black dot, compared to the speed of a cultivator flying in the air. The Tao artifact's escape speed was obviously faster. Seeing this, he could only give up the idea of taking this Tao artifact. Then, Qin Shujian changed direction and flew in the air again. He saw that in the wilderness, a long saber was fighting with a seal. From time to time, lightning would break through the sky, and mountains would sweep across the sky, exuding a terrifying power. And around the two Tao artifacts, there were already many powerhouses of the spiritual martial realm gathered. Among them, there were even a few people who stood in the air, showing their strength of the airborne realm. A two-seal Tao artifact long saber. This should be the Yuan sect's Tao artifact. As for this seal, it looks like the Celestial sect's mountain suppressing seal. Be confident, this is the Celestial sect's mountain suppressing seal. Tisk Tsk, two Tao artifacts fighting. Such a situation is rare. Many people around began to talk, and their eyes were flickering. Two Tao artifacts appeared here just like that. To say that they were not tempted, that was completely self-deceiving. But for most of the cultivators present, whether it was the Celestial sect or the Yuan sect, they were sects that they could not afford to offend. As for the others, although they wanted to seize the Tao artifact, but even if no one was controlling it, with the power of the Tao artifact itself, it was not something that ordinary people could subdue. If they were careless, it could be the result of death. Just as everyone was hesitating, a voice suddenly rang out. A powerful aura. It directly approached from afar. Chapter 248. Boom. A figure tore through the air and punched out with a fist that contained boundless might, landing directly on the seal. A violent wind spread. Qin Shujian's body shook slightly, and he immediately retreated. However, it was only a slight obstruction. Qin Shanxue found the right opportunity and slashed the seal heavily with his saber. In an instant, the seal fell to the ground. The sudden change of events. This caused everyone's expression to freeze. When they saw the person who had come, many people's expressions changed again. Sect Master Yuan, Qin Shujian. With regards to this expert who had broken through the shackles of Mount Liang's spirit domain, there were not many cultivators who did not recognize him. Even the cultivators from other regions, as long as they had reached the spirit martial realm, they also firmly remembered this face. For no other reason. It was because he had become the first person in 1,000 years to break the shackles of the true dominion and become the spirit protectorate's protectorate lord. Now, they saw Qin Shujian flying over. The scene of him directly confronting the Tao artifact with his physical body. It gave people a strong impact. Even the few airborne realm cultivators present suppressed the urge to snatch the Tao artifact. This was because they also felt threatened by Qin Shujian. On the other side, the seal was struck down, but it was not damaged. It still soared into the sky, trying to break through Qin Shanxue's blockade and escape into the distance he wanted to talk about before. This Tao artifact still dared to confront Qin Shanxue. Then, with the arrival of Qin Shujian, it finally felt threatened. However, the current situation was no longer one where this Tao artifact could escape as it wished. Buzz, a 30-meter tall spiritual deity, stood in the air. A powerful pressure swept through the entire area in an instant. All the spiritual martial realm cultivators who felt this wave of pressure all trembled. They hid in their minds and didn't dare to act rashly. As for the other airborne realm cultivators, they all looked at Qin Shujian as if they were looking at some kind of inconceivable being. The spirit deity is showing its power. It did not matter if they could maintain their flying posture. The moment they saw the spirit deity show its power, these cultivators all landed on the ground. On the other side, The 10 feet tall spiritual deity's palm was like a palm leaf fan, and it directly bombarded the imperial seal. The terrifying impact of the spiritual deity's palm directly caused the Tao artifact to issue a wail. Immediately, the lightning around the long blade slashed down, causing the seal to tremble violently again. 7 saber strikes in a row. The imperial seal seemed to have finally yielded. It hovered quietly in midair, not moving at all. Even the might of a Tao artifact had been retracted, just as Qin Shanxue was about to continue his attack. As the spirit returned to his body, Qin Shujian said in a deep voice, "Stop." Hearing this, Qin Shanxue stopped attacking, but there were still thunderbolts lingering around the blade, as if he was going to launch a fatal attack at any time. Qin Shujian approached in the air and grabbed the imperial seal. Then, he picked up Qin Shanxue and left in the air. From beginning to end, he didn't even look at the cultivators present. After a while, seeing that the 2 Tao artifacts had disappeared, and the 10 feet tall spiritual deity had also disappeared, the other cultivators felt that a huge rock had been lifted from their hearts, and they let out a long sigh of relief. A 10 feet tall spiritual deity. I once saw a prominent divine realm expert of LV8 spiritual martial realm, and his spiritual deity was only about 7 feet tall. Not only has his cultivation reached the prominent divine realm, but his strength is also close to the peak of the spiritual martial realm. I'm afraid that everyone has underestimated Yuanzong, and also underestimated the spirit realm master. Someone looked in the direction where Qin Shujian had disappeared and exclaimed. Suddenly, many people's expressions changed when they heard this. After looking at each other, they directly turned and left. As for some idle spiritual martial realm cultivators, at this moment, their expressions were heavy, and no one knew what they were thinking. But everyone knew one thing. That was, the world was about to change again. Soon, the news that the Celestial Sect and the other 8 sects had sent experts to join forces in an attempt to kill Yuanzong's outer sect elder and seize his sect-guarding Tao artifact spread like the wind. In the end, the news that Qin Shujian had reached the spiritual deity realm and seized the Celestial Sect's mountain-suppressing seal in one go. It caused a huge commotion. The Celestial Sect had tried to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. Not only did they not seize Yuanzong's Tao artifact, but the sect master of Yuanzong had also taken away their Tao artifact. Everyone had a hunch that it would happen. The Celestial Sect might not be able to take this lying down. As for the previous news, that was even more shocking. The spiritual deity realm. It was the symbol of the last spiritual martial realm, the prominent divine realm. Qin Shujian had just broken the shackles of the true dominion and advanced to the spiritual martial realm not long ago. At most, it had not even been a month. He had directly advanced from the spiritual god realm to the peak of the prominent divine realm. Although this might be due to the advancement of the sect's power, causing the realm to increase. But even so, it was impossible for a 5th grade power to advance from the airborne realm to the prominent divine realm. After all, although there were few 5th grade powers, the great Zhao dynasty had existed for so many years. There were always sects and powers that were lucky enough to reach this stage. According to the records of the 5th grade powers, the increase in the sect's strength would not exceed the 5th level of the spiritual martial realm. Even the 6th level of the spirit martial realm and the peak of the airborne realm could not reach it. Not to mention the prominent divine realm. However, any rumors and guesses could be false. But the spiritual deity that stood 100 feet tall in the sky could not be faked at all. At that time, there were many spiritual martial realm cultivators present. There were people from other sects, and there were also idle cultivators. But there was no exception. Everyone's words indirectly proved that Qin Shujian had reached the prominent divine realm. Instantly, some sects that were secretly plotting to think of a way to enter the Liang Mountain spirit domain to get a share of the pie quietly dispelled their thoughts. Over 1,000 spiritual god realm cultivators were terrifying. But if many sects joined forces, it might not be impossible to resist. However, a cultivator who was suspected to be at the peak of the prominent divine realm was too terrifying. Not to mention, the Liang Mountain spirit domain was the domain of this domain lord. He even possessed no less than 2 Tao artifacts. If he subdued the mountain-suppressing seal as well, he would have as many as 3 Tao artifacts. Looking at it this way, Yuan Zhong's strength was somewhat terrifying. Under such circumstances, if he had a period of time to settle down, over 1,000 spiritual God realm cultivators would gradually mature. Then Yuan Zhong would definitely become an overlord sect in the spirit domain, no matter how others guessed. After Qin Shujian forcefully suppressed the mountain-suppressing seal, he directly brought this Tao artifact back to Yuan Zhong. At the same time, he sent people to pay attention to Zhang Ergu's movements so as to prevent him from encountering Zhao Shanlin's situation. Now, what he had been worried about had finally happened. Qin Shujian heaved a sigh of relief in his heart instead. Since everything was out in the open, then many things were extremely simple to deal with. Or else, the various sects were hiding in the shadows and plotting for him. But it wasn't a good thing. In the courtyard, Qin Shujian sat there while playing with the mountain-suppressing seal in his hand. It could be said that this was the first Tao artifact he'd truly obtained. Unlike the 1,000 mountain blood and the bow of the universe, it was a Tao artifact that had transformed and advanced after absorbing luck points. However, when 1,000 mountain blood had advanced from a half-step Tao artifact to a Tao artifact, it had also integrated with the Calamity Spear. It didn't completely rely on the luck points. As for the advancement of the second seal, there was nothing worth mentioning. Looking at the seal in his hand, the relevant attributes naturally appeared in his eyes. Mountain-suppressing seal, Qin Shujian murmured. At this moment, this mountain-suppressing seal was like a dead object, without any movement. Tao artifacts were different from spirit artifacts. Spirit artifacts could be forged by humans, but Tao artifacts, it had already exceeded the category of being forged by humans. It was more like being born by nature. Only innate spirit artifacts like sect-guarding spirit artifacts. Only then were they qualified to be promoted to Tao artifacts. It was just that it was very difficult to promote and required a very long time, unless it swallowed other innate spirit artifacts to increase the speed of promotion. I'll give you a chance now. If you're willing to submit, perhaps you can get the opportunity to promote to the second seal or even higher. If you're unwilling, then I'll destroy you, Qin Shujian said in a deep voice. However, the mountain-suppressing seal in his hand didn't move at all, as if its spirituality had all dissipated. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths. Qin Shujian's eyes were slightly cold. He placed the mountain-suppressing seal on the stone table and then ignited the bright king hellfire in his hand. He said coldly, "Today, I'll see if the so-called Tao artifact can withstand the bright king hellfire." The moment the bright king hellfire appeared, the mountain-suppressing seal also trembled slightly, as if it felt a great threat. An inexplicable emotion came from it. Among them, it was full of fear. But from the beginning to the end, the mountain-suppressing seal didn't show any intention of submitting. Seeing this, Qin Shujian directly grabbed the mountain-suppressing seal, and then the bright king hellfire burned, completely enveloping this Tao artifact. Boom! The moment it was infected by the bright king hellfire, the mountain-suppressing seal erupted with a powerful force, trying to break free and escape. However, Qin Shujian's spiritual spirit appeared and directly suppressed it. Under the burning of the bright king hellfire, the mountain-suppressing seal trembled crazily, as if it was enduring something painful. There seemed to be a mournful roar coming from it. The spirituality unique to Tao artifacts spread, full of fear. However, no matter how frightened the spirituality was, there was still no message of submission. Still not willing to surrender, Qin Shujian's eyes suddenly turned cold, and he directly activated the bright king hellfire to burn it vigorously. After more than half an hour, only then did he remove the bright king hellfire. The mountain-suppressing seal was still the same as before, but there was no longer any spirituality. The Tao seal that was originally engraved on it had disappeared at this moment. Only a faint red flame was suspended above the seal. The moment he saw the fire lotus, Qin Shujian's eyes lit up, and then he absorbed the fire lotus. Suddenly, another wave of pure energy erupted from his body. The amount was slightly more than the amount contributed by the 3 evil spirits, causing his strength to increase imperceptibly. Not only the demons, but I can also get the Fire Lotus from calcining Dao artifacts, and the energy obtained is quite a lot. It seems that there is another way to increase my strength. Qin Shujian thought to himself, and then his attention fell on the mountain suppressing seal. All of a sudden, he was slightly stunned. Qin Shujian realized that he seemed to have overlooked something. That was, if the mountain suppressing seal had already recognized its master, unless someone forcefully broke the seal of recognition. Otherwise, it shouldn't have the heart to betray it. Chapter 249. Inside a secret chamber. A middle-aged man in a black and gold-patterned robe sat cross-legged with his eyes closed. He was silently absorbing the spirit chi of heaven and earth to cultivate. Around him, it was so dense that it could materialize. All of a sudden, he spat out a mouthful of blood. His originally calm aura became chaotic, and the spirit chi around him became violent. Immediately, he spat out another mouthful of blood. Who dares to steal my mountain-suppressing seal? Zhao Zunji opened his eyes and was filled with anger. A terrifying aura exploded from his body and shook the entire secret chamber. He had originally felt that he had touched the threshold of the divine martial arts realm. He was so close to using the method left behind by the celestial sect's ancestors to forcefully break through the threshold and reach the divine martial arts realm. After all, the shackles in the spirit domain were extremely subtle. It was unlike the true dominion and ordinary dominion. As long as one's strength exceeded the limit, they would be punished by the heavens. Besides, the realm of the cultivators in the domain was also tightly suppressed. In the spirit domain, if one used some methods, they could break through the shackles and reach the divine martial arts realm. A large sect in the spirit domain. If they had a divine martial arts realm cultivator, they would definitely be a top existence. However, just now, Zhao Zunji felt that his connection with the mountain suppressing seal had been severed. It was as if a terrifying flame had followed the connection and burned him. He had no choice but to withdraw from the state of cultivation. The result of forcefully withdrawing, that strand of opportunity had disappeared. He had also suffered a backlash from the spirit chi, causing him to be severely injured. I gave the mountain suppressing seal to Zhang Shengming. Now that the connection with the Dao weapon has been severed, someone must have forcefully removed my ownership imprint. Could it be that a strong enemy has attacked the celestial sect? Zhao Zunji's eyes were cold. At this moment, the killing intent in his heart could not be suppressed. However, if someone had attacked the celestial sect, it was impossible that he did not notice at all. There would be no one who did not inform him. But no matter what, this matter had completely angered him. After calming down his chaotic aura, Zhao Zunji wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and stood up to open the door of the secret chamber. A ray of sunlight shone in. It dispelled the darkness in the secret chamber and revealed his indifferent face. Greetings, Sect Master. Seeing this, the elder guarding the secret chamber hurriedly bowed. Zhao Zunji asked in a deep voice, "Did anything happen at the celestial sect during this period of time?" Reporting to Sect Master, "The sect is fine. Inform all the elders to wait in the main hall. I have something to ask them." Understood. Hearing Zhao Zun's apathetic tone and seeing his expression, the celestial sect elder felt that something was amiss. He didn't dare to say anything more and took his leave. Within the celestial sect's main hall, Zhao Zunji sat in the main seat, while the rest of the elders sat on his left and right. First elder, where is the mountain suppressing seal that I gave you? Elder Liu brought the mountain suppressing seal to ambush Yuanzong's elder. In the end, he was attacked by Yuanzong's lord. The mountain suppressing seal fell into Yuanzong's hands. Zhang Shengming continued with a solemn expression. However, Sect Master can be at ease. The mountain suppressing seal is only temporarily in the hands of Yuanzong. We have already joined forces with the other sects and are preparing to attack the Liang Mountain Spirit region. It won't be long before we can take back the mountain suppressing seal. Take it back. Zhao Zunji was so angry that he laughed. He slammed his palm on the armrest, and the terrifying power instantly turned the armrest into dust. The aura of a peak spiritual martial force enveloped the entire main hall. Now that the mountain suppressing seal has been erased, how are you going to take it back? His angry and cold words echoed in the main hall. Under the cover of the terrifying aura, it made most people's hearts tremble. However, compared to the suppression of the aura, Zhao Zunji's words were even more shocking. Zhang Xingming's originally solemn expression changed drastically. The mountain's suppressing seal has been refined by someone? If not, why do you think I came out of seclusion? Zhao Zunji's expression was cold. If Zhang Xingming wasn't the celestial sect's first elder and had a lot of experience, he would have questioned him about this matter. As for Zhang Xingming, he didn't expect the mountain suppressing seal to be refined. If a Dao artifact fell into the hands of others, there was still a possibility of taking it back. However, if it was refined, it was basically equivalent to losing a Dao artifact. For the celestial sect, the loss of a sage item was far greater than the loss of an elder at the airborne realm. Zhao Zunji suppressed the anger in his heart and said coldly, "What is the Liang Mountain Spirit Protectorate and the origin sect that you mentioned previously? I don't remember the existence of the Liang Mountain Spirit Protectorate among the 17 Spirit Protectorates. The Liang Mountain Spirit Protectorate is a newly formed Spirit Protectorate that was born after an expert broke the shackles of the True Dominion. The origin sect is the sect that was founded by the Spirit Protectorate Lord, broke the shackles of the True Dominion, and became the Spirit Protectorate Lord." Zhao Zunji's heart trembled. His expression changed drastically. He seemed to be faintly shocked. Obviously, the news of breaking the shackles of the True Dominion had caused a huge shock to the celestial sect master. Even Zhao Zunji himself. He had never thought that anyone could really break the shackles of the True Dominion. After all, for many people, breaking the shackles of the True Dominion was ultimately just a rumor that hadn't appeared for thousands of years and had only been passed down in legends. After a short moment of shock, Zhao Zunji quickly calmed down. For him, even the Spirit Protectorate Lord was just a cultivator who had just entered the Spirit God realm. No matter what, he was also a peak Spirit Martial Realm expert who was only a step away from entering the God Martial Realm. No matter how powerful a Spirit God Realm cultivator was, he was still only at the Spirit God Realm. The gap between the Spirit God Realm and the prominent Sage Realm was hard to make up. There should be a lot of resources in a Spirit Protectorate. Could there be some difficult opponent that the Celestial Sect hasn't made a move yet and even lost a Dao artifact? Sect Master, the Origin Sect is a 5th grade force. There are a total of 1,500 Spirit God Realm cultivators in the sect and 2 Dao artifacts. One of them is a 2-seal Dao artifact. The latest news is that the Origin Sect Master Spirit God is at the prominent Sage Realm. He is 100 feet tall and is suspected to be an expert at the 9th level of the Spirit Martial Realm. After hearing Zhang Shengming's words, Zhao Zunji finally understood why the Celestial Sect hadn't entered the Liang Mountain Spirit Protectorate to plunder the resources that they deserved. 1,500 Spirit Gods, 2 Dao artifacts guarding the sect, the Domain Lord of the Spirit Protectorate who was at the prominent Sage Realm. The combination of the 3 was enough to make the Celestial Sect not dare to fight head-on. However, compared to the shock of a 5th grade force, he was even more shocked by Qin Shujian, who had just broken through and was already a spirit god who could reach the prominent divine realm. If any cultivator wants to step into the spirit martial realm, even if they are geniuses, they will need more than 10 years of training. It is impossible for them to break through to the flight riding realm. As for the prominent divine realm, Zhao Zunji paused for a moment and then said in a deep voice, "If I remember correctly, the fastest cultivator in history to break through to the prominent divine realm took a total of 27 years. One took 27 years. One took less than a month." With such a comparison, it was enough to be described as shocking. Zhang Xingming said in a deep voice, "Sect Master, you mean that Qin Shujian has a shocking treasure that allowed him to break through the shackles of the True Dominion and reach the prominent divine realm so quickly?" Maybe, maybe not. Zhao Zunji's expression was strange as he said, "If it was an ordinary person, it would naturally be impossible. However, if an almighty reincarnated and cultivated again, it is not impossible." However, regardless of whether he is an almighty reincarnated and cultivated again, since he dared to kill the celestial sect's elder and steal our sect's Tao artifact, this matter must be settled. At the end, Zhao Zunji did not hide the killing intent in his heart. Things had developed to this stage. There was no way for both parties to ease the tension. If Qin Shujian had a treasure on him, then he would seize the opportunity to snatch it and not give him the chance to grow. If he was an almighty reincarnated, then he would take the opportunity to kill him. Otherwise, when he woke up, the celestial sect would not be able to contend against him. Hearing this, a celestial sect elder could not help but ask, "Sect Master, is there really such a thing as reincarnation?" "Of course," Zhao Zunji said slowly. "A cultivator of the divine martial realm already has the qualifications to possess a body. As for those above the divine martial realm, it is not difficult for the physical body to return to heaven and earth and the soul to reincarnate and cultivate again. However, reincarnation is ultimately very risky and not everyone can withstand it. If Qin Shujian was reincarnated and cultivated again, then he was at least in existence of the heavenly man realm in his previous life." Speaking of the words heavenly man, his face was unprecedentedly solemn. It could be said that heavenly man realm was beyond the divine martial realm and was ranked at the top of the world. No matter how proud and arrogant Zhao Zunji was, when talking about heavenly man realm, there was a trace of reverence in his heart. This was the respect for the peerless experts. It was also the goal that he wanted to achieve in the future. After that, Zhao Zunji's gaze fell on Zhang Shiming and said, "Great Elder, you said that you have already formed an alliance with the various sects and are prepared to take action against the Yuan sect. I wonder how the discussion went." The temptation of a newly promoted spirit domain is not small. Naturally, no one would reject it. "When do you plan to take action?" "Originally, we heard that the Yuan sect's Tao artifact was taken out by the Yuan sect elder. We plan to kill him and take the Tao artifact first. Then, we will weaken the Yuan sect's overall strength before taking action." Zhang Shiming shook his head and said, "But now that this plan has failed and the various sects have lost an airborne realm expert, the Yuan sect will definitely be on guard and will not have a second chance. So, we plan to officially take action against the Liang Mountain Spirit Domain in 5 days, and take advantage of the time before the Yuan sect's wings are fully developed to crush them." Originally, he didn't intend to annihilate the Yuan sect and only wanted to force them to retreat and then seize the resources of the Liang Mountain Spirit Domain. This way, he would be able to avoid many losses. Moreover, the other sects might not be willing to fight the Yuan sect to the death. After all, if over 1,000 domain spirit gods were to fight to the death, the slightest carelessness, they might end up in a life and death struggle. But now that he obtained the news that Qin Shujian was at the Vision Saint stage and Zhao Zunji's guess, Zhang Shengming changed his mind. The Yuan sect must be annihilated, and the sooner the better. He believed. The other sects' thoughts were probably similar to the celestial sects at this moment. Zhao Zunji nodded and said, "Inform the other sects of the news that Qin Shujian is the reincarnation of an almighty expert, and then join forces to annihilate the Yuan sect. We must not leave behind any future troubles. I will personally take action in this battle." The matter of the treasure. The celestial sect only needed to have some guesses, and there was no need to spread it. On the contrary, they could confirm the news that Qin Shujian was the reincarnation of an almighty expert. After all, everyone already had a grudge with the Yuan sect. They believed that the other sects wouldn't sit by and watch as a reincarnated almighty expert rose once more. With the sect master taking action, we will naturally win. Chapter 250. In the smithing hall, when Qin Shujian saw Shin Yuqing, he threw a seal to him. Shin Yuqing did not know what was going on, but he still caught the seal. "Sect leader, this is the mountain suppressing seal. It used to be a Tao weapon, but it is no longer one. However, the material of a Tao weapon is extraordinary. I will give it to you. The mountain suppressing seal. Celestial sect's mountain suppressing seal." Shin Yuqing was shocked. He looked at the seal in his hand with a complicated expression. Celestial sect destroyed alchemy sect. His hatred for Celestial Sect had long been buried in his heart. However, because of his own strength, he did not show it on the surface. Now, the mountain suppressing seal was in Qin Shujian's hands. Needless to say, basically, one could tell that the Celestial Sect had suffered a huge loss. Even a Dao item had been snatched away. However, after feeling satisfied, Shen Yuqing was overjoyed. Although he did not understand what Qin Shujian meant, he gave him a Dao weapon. For a smithing master, this was something worth studying. However, after carefully sensing the mountain suppressing seal, Shen Yuqing was shocked. Sect leader, the seal of the mountain suppressing seal is no longer around. What happened? This seal was loyal to Celestial Sect and was unwilling to submit. Hence, I destroyed its seal and destroyed its spirituality. Now, it is no longer a Dao weapon. It can only be considered an extraordinary smithing material. Qin Shujian said casually. As for other things, he did not say much to Shen Yuqing. If a Dao weapon still had its seal and spirituality, it would be considered an innate spiritual item. No matter what, it would not be reduced to a smithing material. It was a pity that after being burned by the Ming King karmic fire, the seal and spirituality had been completely destroyed. It was no longer an innate spiritual item. It could only be considered an extraordinary material. To Qin Shujian, such a material could only be used for smithing spiritual items. However, smithing spiritual items required a lot of time and energy consumption. The most important thing was that it was troublesome. What he needed to do now was to increase his strength as much as possible. Although his life force could be increased, it would save a lot of time if he could rely on himself to cultivate. This was especially true as more and more life force was required for each deduction. Even though Yuan Zong had many subordinates under him, it was still not an easy task to gather enough life force to deduce a grade. As for the item, it was in Shen Yuqing's hands. Firstly, it was to allow the hall master of the blacksmith hall to become a superior blacksmith as soon as possible. Secondly, there was no difference if it was placed in the foundry hall or in his hands. If he really needed it, he could just come over and take it. After leaving the item behind, Qin Shujian turned around and left. Shen Yuqing was left holding the mountain suppression seal, her eyes blazing with passion. Destroying a Dao artifact. This was a shocking thing to others. Because of this, he was also shocked. However, after recovering from her shock, Shen Yuqing couldn't help but admire the mountain-suppressing seal in her hands. After all, a Dao artifact, or a Dao artifact that had once been a Dao artifact, no matter how it was destroyed, there would always be something profound left behind. He was now a blacksmith at the peak of the middle grade. Sometimes, perhaps he only needed an opportunity to break through this hurdle and enter the ranks of superior blacksmiths. On the other side, after Qin Shujian left the blacksmith hall, he immediately gathered some of the elders in the martial bearing hall for a discussion. Which sects were involved in the assassination of Elder Zhao Shanlin? Where did they come from? Have you investigated clearly? Yes, I have. Su Yuaming replied without hesitation. There are a total of 4 sects from the spirit domain. They are the Sky Martial Sect, Divine Extreme Sect, and Gue Yuan Sect of the Falling Dust Spirit Domain, the Flying Star Sect and Saint God Sect of the Ancient Mountain Spirit Domain, the White Bone Sect and Silver Moon Sect of the Fallen Immortal Spirit Domain, and the Rakshasa Sect of the Void Imperfection Spirit Domain. Hearing this, many people's expressions changed slightly. The people involved this time involved 4 great spirit domains and 8 great sections. This was not a small matter, especially the sects that Su Yuanming mentioned. They were all considered great sects in the spirit domain. Their strength might not be Yuan Zong's opponent one-on-one, but if they joined forces, they were definitely not to be underestimated. Qin Shujian had already expected this. However, he thought that the sects involved would only involve 1 or 2 spirit domains. He did not expect that there would be 4 spirit domains involved. How strong are these sects? To be able to become a great sect in the spirit domain, they all have prominent sage stage cultivators. They also have Dao artifacts. However, the strongest sect among the 8 sects should be Celestial Sect. It is rumored that Celestial Sect also has a 2-seal Dao artifact. It is not as simple as just 1 Dao artifact. However, Now that the mountain-suppressing seal is in Sect Master's hands, it has greatly weakened Celestial Sect's strength. Su Yuanming had basically gathered all of the information regarding the sections, although it had only happened less than 2 days ago. However, with Yuan Zhong's current strength, it was no longer as simple as just Liang Mountain Spirit Domain. They had even sent people to other regions to gather information and send it back. This was also the reason why Su Yuanming was able to collect almost all the information he could in such a short time. Of course, this also played a role in the player's actions. However, the information that the players gave was both true and false. Perhaps some of them were just trying to get the mission rewards. Regarding this information, naturally, he would not believe all of it. However, after some filtering, the information that he received would not be too different from the actual situation. Zheng Fang also opened his mouth at this moment. I'm afraid that the alliance of the 8 sects is not as simple as just forcing our Yuanzong to back down. First, they ambushed Elder Zhao and tried to steal our Dao artifact. This is to further weaken our strength. The intention of the 8 sects to destroy our Yuanzong is already clear. Does Great Elder have any ideas? Su Yuanming's gaze landed on Zheng Fang. I think that perhaps we can also join forces with the other sects in the 4 spirit domains. Even if we give up a portion of the benefits, it will be enough to keep the 8 sects at bay. What Yuanzong needs now is time. If we have enough time, the 1,500 spiritual god stage cultivators will become our strongest method, Zheng Fang said slowly. From his point of view, the alliance of the 8 sects was not simple. However, within the 4 spirit domains, there were also sects that were not on good terms with the 8 sections. If Yuanzong was willing to give up a portion of the benefits in Liang Mountain Spirit Domain, it would not be a problem to pull these sects over. After all, if Yuanzong was destroyed and the 8 sects took over the resources of Liang Mountain Spirit Domain, it would not be a good thing for these sections. The strategy of driving the wolf to devour the tiger is not something that can be done unless it is absolutely necessary. Qin Shujian shook his head slightly. Then, he took a look at his own life source. As time passed and Yuanzong's strength increased during this period of time, he had killed many cultivators and demonic beasts. Originally, there were only a few 100,000 life sources left, but now, it had soared to more than 5 million life sources. Of the 5 million life sources, the demons that died in his hands contributed close to 1 million life sources. In addition, the demons that Zhao Shanlin and Zhang Ergo had killed had contributed close to 1 million life sources. The 3 of them had contributed close to 1/3 of their life sources. The reason why it could be so high, it was because after the Bright King Hellfire burned the demons, it merged with the Red Lotus and plundered even more life sources. So much life sources. It was already enough to upgrade the Origin Returning Ancestral Cannon to another level. However, Qin Shujian did not upgrade it immediately. Instead, he said in a deep voice, "Last time, the demonic beasts were a problem. Now that the Liang Mountain Spirit Domain has been upgraded, I'm afraid that many demonic beasts of the Spirit Martial Realm have appeared in the Endless Mountain Range. Now, pass down my order. All cultivators of the Spirit Martial Realm and above, unless they are on a mission, enter the Endless Mountain Range and kill all the demonic beasts with all their strength. Do not leave a single one alive. Sect Master, if we kill the demonic beasts at this time and cause any losses, it will not be good for us." Zheng Fang was also stunned by Qin Shujian's thoughts. However, he quickly reacted and advised, "Don't worry, Great Elder. I naturally have my own reasons for doing this." Qin Shujian shook his head slightly and said, "I will let you bring the Dao artifact into the Endless Mountain Range. If you encounter any tyrannical demonic beasts, it will be enough to kill them. There is no need to discuss this matter anymore. It's decided." Seeing his sect master's firm attitude, Zheng Fang did not say anything in the end. For this, Qin Shujian did not explain too much. He could not tell them that he wanted them to enter the Endless Mountain Range in order to harvest more life force. Now for him, the life force was one of his biggest secrets. In this world, apart from killing players, the NPCs could quickly advance. Killing the native demonic beasts and cultivators had no possibility of advancing at all. In addition, the current players were generally in the early stage of the true martial realm. There were not many who had entered the inner energy realm. For the cultivators of the spirit god realm and even the outer energy realm, there was no point in killing players. Except for himself, Qin Shujian had not found anyone who could plunder the life force. As long as this matter was not mentioned openly, then no matter how others guessed, it would not have any effect on him. With his current strength and the buff of the Domain Master title in the Liang Mountain range, no one could threaten him. It was the same even for the cultivators of the god martial realm. Even if he could not fight, no one could stop him if he wanted to escape. This point, Qin Shujian was still very confident. In a situation where his life was not in danger, then there were many things that did not need to be too restrained. Moreover, the situation had not really reached the point where he needed to retreat strategically. After making the decision, Zhang Ergu on the other side also returned at the right time. Perhaps it was because after the failure to kill Zhao Shanlin, the people of the other sects did not dare to take the risk to kill Zhang Ergu. Of course, it could also be that the other sects were preparing for a bigger matter, so they did not waste too much strength to ambush. But no matter what, Zhang Ergu still returned, bringing back the heaven and earth bow and cloud-piercing arrow. On the peak of Liang Mountain, Qin Shujian first used 20 points of life force to upgrade the cloud-piercing arrow to the level of a one-seal Dao artifact. In this way, the heaven and earth bow and cloud-piercing arrow, these two one-seal Dao artifacts complemented each other. Two one-seal Dao artifacts could not be compared to ordinary one-seal Dao artifacts. According to the Heaven and Earth Bow, it now had the confidence to fight Qian Shanxue one-on-one. Of course, the so-called one-on-one referred to the combination of the bow and cloud-piercing arrow. But even so, it was enough to prove what kind of power these companion spiritual objects would have if they were upgraded together. After that, Qin Shujian used the remaining 300 points of luck points on Qian Shanxue. Instead of upgrading multiple Dao artifacts, it was better to directly deduce Qian Shanxue into a 3-seal Dao artifact. Back then, when 3 1-seal Dao artifacts were besieged, Qian Shanxue was able to block 8 airborne realm cultivators and protect Zhao Shanlin with ease. Such power. It was definitely not something that a few 1-seal Dao artifacts could compare to. If it was upgraded to a 3-seal Dao artifact, Qin Shujian believed that Qian Shanxue would definitely usher in an even more terrifying transformation. As the luck points were smashed down, a new Dao seal appeared in it. There was no rolling thunder, nor was there any terrifying heavenly might. Only a breeze blew across the sky, dispersing all the clouds within 100 miles. However, without the obstruction of the clouds, the blazing sunlight in the sky seemed to be blocked by something and could not completely shine down. When Qin Shujian used his spiritual eye to look at it, he was shocked. He saw that the breeze in the sky was not a breeze, but an invisible saber qi that interweaved into an invisible domain, annihilating everything that existed in the domain. Although it was invisible, it was filled with killing intent. At the same time, the 8 stone statues erected in the main sect, the branches, and Cold Mountain City seemed to have sensed something at this moment. They seemed to tremble slightly, and there seemed to be a faint flash of light. In the Lion-Tiger Plain, a stone statue with a long saber was placed in front of the Demon Ox Cave. A huge green ox was lying in the cave taking a nap. When the stone statue moved, its bell-sized eyes opened and looked in the direction of the stone statue with some doubt. But soon, the green ox closed its eyes again and did not pay attention to anything else. As for this stone statue, Niu Dali had nothing to say. Less than 2 days after he became the master of the demon vein, Qin Shujian brought over this stone statue that seemed to be an enlarged version of the long saber and said that he wanted the beasts of the demon vein to worship it every day. As for the use of doing this, Qin Shujian did not say anything, and Niu Dali did not ask further. As far as he was concerned, as long as he had a safe place to sleep, it was enough. As for other things, what did that have to do with him, this big green ox? Chapter 251. The Origin Sect powerhouses entered the Endless Mountain Range to kill monsters. This was great news for the players. After all, There were too many powerful monsters in the endless mountain range now, with the current strength of the players. Unless they formed a 100-man team, they might be able to kill a spirit martial realm monster without caring about casualties. But the price was too high. Moreover, although the spirit martial realm monster gave a lot of experience, but with so many people sharing it, it wasn't much. So, unless they were absolutely confident, or else, during this period of time, players rarely entered the endless mountain range. This was something that couldn't be helped. For no reason. The game map increased by a large level just like that, causing their own levels to be unable to keep up at all, causing the current awkward situation. Now, the Origin sect powerhouses were going to kill the endless mountain range. They didn't know the reason, but for the players, was the reason important? As long as they could enter the endless mountain range with other spirit god realm cultivators and take advantage of the opportunity to kill monsters, the experience points would definitely be in their account. Elder, I heard that you're going to enter the endless mountain range to kill monsters. Coincidentally, I'm very familiar with the endless mountain range. Why don't you let me follow the team? This way, I can do my part for the sect. Looking at Zhang Ergo, who was basking in the sun on the recliner, Sukai revealed a flattering smile. If one were to talk about what advantages he had compared to the other players, it wasn't that his realm was high, nor was it that his equipment was good. It was that he was more familiar with Zhang Ergo, an outer sect elder, and an outer sect elder in charge of the weapon hall. Zhang Ergo's authority wasn't much lower than that of an inner sect elder. Now that he was a spirit god realm cultivator, he was definitely a big boss. If he could be favored by him, he would take more missions in the sect than other players. Zhang Ergo barely opened his eyes and glanced at the other party. He sneered and said, "Why are you so enthusiastic? Hurry up and stay where you are. I still need to rest for a while and accumulate some strength to kill monsters." During this period of time, he had been killing demons. Although he didn't do much, most of the time, the universe Bao did it by itself. But no matter what, it consumed a lot of energy. Even if a spirit god realm cultivator's divine sense was powerful, he couldn't withstand such torment. Disciple is willing to pay 2,000 contribution points. I only hope that Elder can bring me along. 2,000 points. Zhang Ergu's originally closed eyes suddenly opened, but he quickly lowered his eyelids and said indifferently, "What kind of person do you think this Elder is?" F***CK. Even 2,000 points couldn't move him? When Sukai saw this, he cursed in his heart. He realized that his brother Go seemed to have changed. In the past, a few hundred contribution points would have been enough to entice the other party. Now, 2,000 contribution points would only cause the other party to open his eyes. When did the other party become so arrogant? However, if he could follow Zhang Ergu, he would have a greater chance of landing the killing blow. Looking at the experience bar of the 4th level of the martial realm, Sukai could only endure the pain in his heart and said, 3,000 contribution points. There was no movement. 3,500. There was still no movement. 4,000 points. Sukai's voice trembled slightly. This was purely out of heartache. Zhang Ergu closed his eyes and said slowly, 5,000 contribution points. If you agree, I'll bring you along. If not, then forget it. Deal. All right. Zhang Ergu directly stood up and revealed a warm smile. He said, then go back and prepare. I'll inform you when it's time to set off. Right. The contribution points have to be paid in advance. No credit allowed. Sukai left. His heart ached when he left. 5,000 contribution points. This was the amount that he had accumulated because he rarely exchanged for contribution points recklessly. However, the moment Zhang Ergu spoke, it almost made him empty. However, Sukai had no possibility of refusing. Contribution points could be earned again, but the opportunity to fight monsters was rare. Now that the Skyen mountain range was so dangerous, with his strength that had just entered the inner energy realm, there was a high chance that he would die if he entered. On the other side, Qin Shujian directly arrived at by Feng City. When one's divine sense reached the spirit god manifestation realm, their speed was much faster than others. If compared to when they were at the peak of the true martial realm, they would be several times faster. It should have been a 2-day journey. It only took Qin Shujian less than half a day to arrive at this place. Chongyun Trading Company, in the main hall. Sect Master Qin has come from afar this time. If you need me, you can tell me. Looking at Qin Shujian, Lin Wanyu said in a deep voice. After 3 days, he had a whole new level of respect for him. Now that a few months had passed, the other party was already a cultivator of the spirit martial realm and had reached the spirit god manifestation realm. He himself was only at the 8th level of the true martial realm. Comparing the two, the difference between their realms was like heaven and earth. Although for Lin Wanyu, the realm was not the most important thing, facing a great cultivator of the manifestation realm, there was still a certain amount of reverence and pressure in his heart. Qin Shujian did not beat around the bush and said in a deep voice, I need a martial art of the formation Dao. I wonder if your trading company has it. Formation Dao martial art. Lin Wanyu was startled at first, but he did not ask much. After thinking for a moment, he said, We do have a martial art of the formation Dao. What level does Sect Master Qin need? Master or master level, but it's best if it's at the master level. Master. Lin Wanyu was shocked, and the way he looked at Qin Shujian changed. He could not help but ask, could it be that Sect Master Qin has recruited a Formation Dao Master? He could not help but think about it. After all, only Formation Dao Masters could study Formation Dao martial arts of the Master level. As for Formation Dao Masters, they were second to none in the great Zhao 13 prefectures. Qin Shujian shook his head and laughed. I don't have that. It's just that I am suddenly interested in the Formation Dao, so I want to study it. I don't have any Formation Dao Masters here, but the other branches should have them. If Sect Master Qin really wants it, I can help you find it. Then I will have to trouble Chief Steward. Sect Master Qin's words are too distant. Your sect has always cooperated with my trading company. This little help is nothing. Lin Wanyu smiled and said, How about this? How about Sect Master Qin give me 3 days? No problem. Then I will wait for Chief Steward's good news. Qin Shujian nodded and replied. 3 days was not too long and he could afford to wait. After that, Qin Shujian was too lazy to go back. He stayed in the Chongyun Trading Company and cultivated silently while waiting for Lin Wanyu's news. 2 days passed by in a flash. Lin Wanyu said 3 days. In fact, it only took him 2 days to bring the things that Qin Shujian wanted. Sect Master Qin, this Formation Dao martial art was left behind by a Formation Dao master thousands of years ago. Unfortunately, after thousands of years, this Formation Dao martial art fell into the hands of the Chongyun Trading Company. As he spoke, Lin Wanyu handed over a glowing crystal to him. A Formation Dao Master is sealed in this. As long as you touch it with your spiritual spirit, you will be able to comprehend it. Originally, it could be used 3 times. However, the Formation Dao Master used it once, and the Chongyun Trading Company also used it once when inspecting the goods. Now, this crystal only has 1 use left. How much? After receiving the crystal, Qin Shujian could feel that the method used to seal the crystal was extraordinary even without touching it with his spiritual force. 1 million. 1 million? Hearing this, Qin Shujian frowned. When he obtained the Celestial Light Alchemy Scroll and the Ancestral Foundry Codex, he did not spend more than 500,000. Now, the other party was asking for 1 million for a crystal that recorded a Formation Dao Master. No matter how rich he was, he should not be so wasteful. As if he could see Qin Shujian's thoughts, Lin Wanyu patiently explained, Sect Master Qin, you may not know this, but the Formation Dao Master sealed in this crystal contains a trace of the true intent of a master. Although this true intent is very weak, the price of 1 million is definitely not too high. Hearing this, Qin Shujian felt relieved. If it contained a trace of the true intent of a master, then the price was indeed not too high. After all, if a master used it and luckily comprehended a trace of the true intent of a master, he might be able to break through the sect's threshold. Thinking of this, a slight smile appeared on his face. As he kept the crystal, he also took out a banknote worth 1 million and said, Here is 1 million. Thank you for your help this time. Sect Master Qin, you are too polite. I have other matters to attend to, so I will not stay for long. If I have time in the future, I will come and have a chat with you. It's a deal. Lin Wanyu did not ask him to stay. The situation in the origin sect was delicate now. It was inevitable that he would think too much if Qin Shujian had only asked for an array Dao martial technique and left. At the entrance of the carrier trade firm, Qin Shujian turned around and cupped his hands. I hope that you can keep this matter between us a secret and not let anyone else know. Sect Master Qin, don't worry. It has always been the standard of the trade firm to keep the information of our customers confidential. Then I will take my leave first. Take care, Sect Master Qin. After saying goodbye to each other, Qin Shujian directly left by Feng City. Every city had a flight restriction array. Even a spirit martial realm cultivator could not fly in the sky in the city. After all, this concerned the reputation of the imperial court. When Baifeng City had still been a true dominion city, there had naturally been no flight restriction array. However, as the true dominion had been upgraded, there had been an additional flight restriction array in the city. After leaving Baifeng City, Qin Shujian lifted his body with his spiritual force and flew in the sky towards the boundary of Liang Mountain. One journey and one journey. Plus, he had to wait. By the time he returned to the origin sect, 3 days had already passed. Now that the various sects had failed to kill Zhao Shanlin and obtain the 1,000 mountain blood, they seemed to have completely quieted down. There was a faint sense of the calm before the storm. Although there was no evidence, Qin Shujian could vaguely feel it. Perhaps it would not take long. The 8 sects would attack the origin sect. There was no concrete evidence. It was just a vague feeling. Chapter 252. For this, Qin Shujian, on the other hand, was convinced, because this kind of premonition had never been wrong. And during this period of time, the reaction of the major sections. It was enough to explain this matter. In the courtyard, Qin Shujian took out the crystal with the Grand Master formation sealed in it, but he didn't use his divine thought to unseal it immediately. Instead, he looked at his own attributes. The column of life source was constantly jumping at this moment. The original 5 million life sources had now reached more than 8 million, and there were tens of thousands of life sources jumping almost every few minutes. Of course, there were also some death notifications. There were many monsters in the endless mountain range. It was impossible to have no losses at all, but the range of losses, it was still within Qin Shujian's expectations. Although he let Yuan Zong enter the endless mountain range this time to plunder the life source, it also reduced the probability of a monster tide in the future. Even though they were at the borders of the Stone Forest and Liang Mountain, they had set up demon-slaying runes. But it didn't mean it could really be done once and for all. Taking advantage of this opportunity to harvest a wave of monsters and eliminate any possible threat to Yuan Zong. In this way, the problem wouldn't be so big. Then, Qin Shujian's attention fell on the crystal in his hand. If the 8 sects were to attack, if there was any way to have a greater chance of dealing with it, then it would be the formation. With his current level of forging master, his understanding of runes was not inferior to that of a top formation master. A top formation master. If he had enough time, he could set up a formation that would shock even the divine martial arts realm cultivators. Although Qin Shujian was a forging master, it didn't seem to have much effect on him. That was because he didn't show the power he should have at all. If runes were used in forging, then they could be used to forge powerful spiritual weapons. If they were used in formations, to a certain extent, they would be extremely terrifying experts. So, this was also the reason why Qin Shujian was still not too worried about facing the 8 sections. If he hadn't gone to the place where the demons were sealed this time, he had almost forgotten about it himself. Although he was only in the spiritual martial arts realm, if he learned the method of formations, then he would be comparable to a divine martial arts realm cultivator. However, this was the early stage of all this. He knew how to set up formations. Otherwise, even though the original rune arrangement could create quite a bit of power, it was still far from being comparable to a god martial realm cultivator. According to Lin Wanyu, Qin Shujian sent his spiritual sense out of his body and landed on the crystal. The moment his divine sense came into contact with the crystal, The protective measures that had been placed on it quietly melted away. Then, a huge amount of information surged out from the crystal and rushed into his mind. This information was shockingly huge. However, when it surged into his mind, it did not affect Qin Shujian's divine will at all. Shortly after, the formations recorded in the crystal appeared in his mind one by one, as if they were part of nature, allowing him to grasp a lot of them. You've learned the Grandmaster level formation, God-slaying demon annihilating formation. After a long time, only then did Qin Shujian put down the crystal in his hand. His eyes seemed to burst with light, and the corners of his mouth also curved into a smile. God-slaying demon annihilating formation. He never expected that. What he had obtained was indeed an offensive formation. Moreover, it was a top-notch Grandmaster-level offensive formation. Originally, Qin Shujian also hoped to get a Grandmaster-level formation. It didn't matter whether it was used against the enemy or not. Then he could deduce a suitable formation for the enemy with his skills as a forging master. However, what Lin Wanyu gave him was an offensive array formation. It saved him the time to deduce it himself. However, this God-slaying demon annihilating formation was worthy of being a top Grandmaster level formation. Even with Qin Shujian's identity as a forging master, coupled with the weak gist of trueness of a Grandmaster, it was impossible for him to completely understand this formation. What was involved in it was not as simple as runes. It was more like it involved the existence of Tao. Formation Grandmaster. Skills beyond Tao. The reason why this level was rare was that people who had reached this level, to some extent, were already extraordinary. Even if I can't fully comprehend this formation, I should be able to comprehend some of its mysteries with my level as a forging master. When the time comes, I can set up this formation to kill the enemy. Qin Shujian closed his eyes slightly, and everything about this formation appeared in his mind again. What he needed to do now. It was from this great array that he comprehended something that belonged to him. Time passed by little. Qin Shujian seemed to have been hit by the fixed body spell. He just sat there without moving. On the side, the osmanthus tree swayed in the wind, and the tiny buds bloomed little by little. It completely violated the laws of nature. The scene was quiet. When the sun set, the stars covered the sky, and then the sun rose from the east. A ray of morning sun shone directly into the courtyard and also fell on Qin Shujian's body. All of a sudden, his absent-minded pupils became a little more lively, and he finally woke up completely from the state of comprehending the formation. Qin Shujian lifted the void and carved, using the stone table in front of him as the foundation, and then the runes were arranged in an orderly manner. In just a moment, a miniature formation had been formed. In a small space, endless killing intent was revealed. After feeling the power of the formation, Qin Shujian waved his hand again and directly dispelled the formation on the stone table. He smiled faintly. Since this formation is derived from the God-slaying demon-destroying formation, then let's call it the myriad spirit-destroying formation. He had not really reached the level of a formation grandmaster. He could not fully master this formation. Naturally, it was not said to be able to slay gods and demons. If the formation's power was not great, and the name was too exaggerated, it would inevitably make people laugh at it. However, it wasn't that powerful, but that was only when compared to the complete version of the god-slaying, demon-slaying Grand Array. If only this myriad spirit-destroying formation was taken as an example. Qin Shujian had absolute confidence. Once a Vision Saint stage cultivator was trapped within it, they would not have any chance to escape. Even a God Martial stage cultivator could fight it. Although he had never fought a God Martial stage cultivator, he could indirectly deduce a thing or two with a Vision Saint stage cultivation. To be able to achieve this level, this was already the reason why Qin Shujian had a deep understanding of runes. Or else, it was impossible to comprehend such a level of formation in a short period of one day and night. After mastering the myriad spirit-destroying formation, even if he walked out, Qin Shujian was confident in calling himself a formation grandmaster. However, when he saw his attributes, he was stunned. Life source, 10003,521. It was 8 million a day ago, but at this moment, it had directly increased to over 10 million. Subsequently, Qin Shujian directly flipped through the sex logs. As expected, another dozen or so spirit god stage cultivators had died. So many spirit god stage cultivators have died. Could it be that they encountered some powerful demonic beast? However, to be able to provide 2 million life sources in a short period of time, I'm afraid there really is something difficult to deal with in the endless mountain range. Qin Shujian's expression changed indeterminately. For demonic beasts that did not step out of the endless mountain range, it was only relative. Back then, the sky-piercing ape had directly triggered the beast tide, and these demonic beasts would still charge out. The origin sect existed in the Liang Mountain area and was close to the endless mountain range, so it should bear such a risk. However, now that he had obtained the life source and there were no new death notifications for the time being, it meant that this terrifying demonic beast had been dealt with. He suppressed the thoughts in his heart. His gaze fell on his attribute panel. According to his original guess, 1 million points could raise him to a forging grandmaster, then 10 million points at most should be able to reach the grandmaster stage. When Qin Shujian's gaze fell on the special martial arts column, as expected, after the ancestral forging canon column, there was already a plus sign that could be improved. Boom! Seeing this, Qin Shujian's heart couldn't help but shake violently, and his expression couldn't help but reveal a complicated expression. Since the ancestral forging canon had a plus sign that could be improved, that meant, as long as he willed it, he would directly be promoted from a forging master to a forging grandmaster. And a forging grandmaster. It was already a different kind of formation grandmaster. Without any hesitation, Qin Shujian directly chose to upgrade the ancestral forging canon. The reason why he let people enter the endless mountain range to kill the demonic beasts was because, wasn't it just to improve himself to the level of a forging grandmaster, and then let him, a prominent divine stage cultivator, have a combat strength that far exceeded his own? As this thought fell, 10 million points of life source were quickly emptied. At the same time, there seemed to be lightning flashing in the sky, and a vast aura directly rose from Qin Shujian's body. At the same time, there seemed to be a huge memory in the depths of his mind that was being unsealed. In an instant, there was no longer a courtyard in front of him, and he seemed to have entered a vast starry sky or a long gray river. Endless mysterious Tao rhymes surged into his mind at this moment. This change seemed to have happened in an instant. It also seemed to have been hundreds of years. When the scene in front of him dissipated, Qin Shujian found that he had returned to the courtyard. The courtyard was still the courtyard. Everything around him was still the same. But in Qin Shujian's eyes, whether it was the empty void or the ordinary courtyard, it seemed to be outlined by mysterious traces that formed everything in front of him. In the sky, lightning was dense. It was as if heaven and earth had sensed the birth of a powerful existence. At this moment, Qin Shujian's temperament had completely changed. If it was said that he used to be extremely sharp, then he was now less sharp and more elegant and easygoing. There seemed to be Taoist rhymes flowing in his pair of pitch-black eyes. Kacha! A bolt of lightning broke through the sky and directly struck the courtyard. Lightning tribulation. Qin Shujian raised his head slightly and looked at the lightning in the sky with a calm expression. When the lightning was about to strike, he waved his sleeve. In an instant, heaven and earth were clear. Chapter 253. The thunder tribulation came quickly, but it was also very fast. Before the other members of the Yuan sect could react, the thunderclouds in the sky disappeared. Then, Qin Shujian turned his head and looked outside the courtyard. An invisible wave spread from his body and the locked courtyard door opened. The moment the door opened, Niu Feng stepped into the room and cupped his fists. Sect Master, just now, dark clouds covered Mount Liang and lightning struck down. What happened? It's just a small breakthrough in cultivation. No need to make a fuss. Qin Shujian said casually with a smile. Breakthrough in cultivation? What kind of breakthrough would cause lightning to strike? Niu Feng couldn't help but be shocked in his heart, and his reverence for Qin Shujian grew even stronger. He was already a cultivator in the 3rd level of the spirit martial realm and was only one step away from the 4th level of the spirit martial realm. However, as his cultivation grew higher, Niu felt that the gap between him and Qin Shujian was getting bigger. When they met for the first time at Mingai Mountain, although he was in awe of his strength, it wasn't as unfathomable as it was now. In Qin Shujian's eyes, Niu Feng's loyalty had increased by a little, and he was now officially man-loyal. Pass down my orders. In 3 days, I will challenge the Sky Martial Sect, Shinji Sect, Origin Returning Sect, Flying Star Sect, Shangshun Sect, Silver Moon Sect, White Bone Sect, and Rakshasa Sect. Spread the news and send the challenge letter to the 8 sections. Sect Master, isn't this too risky? Niu was shocked and asked worriedly. These 8 sects weren't the same. The 8 sects of the True Dominion that had been destroyed in the past had been nothing more than cats and dogs. Now, the 8 sects of the Spirit Dominion were true large sects of the Spirit Dominion. Every sect was rather famous in the entire Great Zhao 13 prefectures. According to the information they received, there were no less than 10 prominent Sage Realm cultivators in the 8 sections. As for the Tao artifact, as a big sect of the Spirit Domain, basically every sect had a Tao artifact. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to maintain their position as a big sect, regardless of the number of prominent Sage Realm cultivators or the number of Tao artifacts. In Niu's opinion, the Yuan sect didn't have any advantages. Taking the initiative to declare war on the 8 sects now, no matter how he looked at it, he was digging his own grave. Of course, Niu Feng wouldn't say these words so directly. He was afraid of angering the other party. However, if he allowed Qin Shujian to issue the challenge, he would also be worried about Yuan Zhong's future. Hearing this, Qin Shujian didn't get angry. Instead, he smiled confidently and said, "Whenever you see me, Qin Shujian, doing something I'm not sure of, you can send the challenge letter. Also, spread the news of this battle as widely as possible. It's best if everyone in the 18 spirit domains knows about it." Niu Feng didn't know what to say about Qin Shujian's confidence. However, when he thought of the way Qin Shujian had acted in the past and how confident he was now, he guessed that Qin Shujian must have made arrangements that he was unaware of. Regarding this, Niu Feng was not in a position to ask too many questions. He nodded and said, "Don't worry, Sect Master. I know what to do. Go. I'll take my leave first." Niu Feng cupped his hands and left. When he walked out of the courtyard, he closed the door behind him. In the courtyard, Qin Shujian came with his hands behind his back. Looking at the osmanthus tree in front of him, his gentle face gradually turned cold. Before he broke through to the Guru Master Realm, he had no confidence in dealing with the experts of the 8 sects with a shrunken and incomplete all-spirits destruction formation. Then, after he broke through to the Guru Master Realm, the so-called experts of the 8 sects were no longer a threat in his eyes. The word Guru, it represented the pinnacle of the Tao. Perhaps it was too arrogant to say that. Perhaps the Guru Master Realm was not the end of the Tao of forging. However, after reaching this level, he had entered the point where he could master all the methods. Although a master of forging was equal to a master of array, but seriously speaking, there was still a slight difference between a casting master who specialized in casting and a formation master who specialized in formations, even if the difference was not very big. But once he reached the Guru Master Realm, it was completely different. After reaching the Guru Master Realm, Qin Shujian understood that the Tao of forging and the Tao of array were different paths leading to the same goal. A master of forging was a master of array. A master of array was a master of forging. At this level, there was not much difference between the two. In the Tao of forging, he was a master of forging. When he set up an array to kill the enemy, he was a master of array. At this level, an expert. He was no longer limited by the spirit martial arts realm and the god martial arts realm. When he looked at his attributes again, the special martial arts column had completely changed. Special martial arts, Celestial Scion Alchemy Book, Upper Grade Alchemist, Ancestral Book of Forging, Master of Forging and Array, God-Slaying Demon All Spirits Destruction Formation. The self-created All Spirits Destruction Formation was not recognized by the system. Perhaps it was born from the god-slaying demon All Spirits Destruction formation, so it was not shown in his attributes. But behind the ancestral book of forging, the words Master of Forging and Array had already appeared. And at the moment of the breakthrough, Qin Shujian found that the god-slaying demon All Spirits Destruction formation, which had been difficult for him to understand, was quietly comprehended by him at this moment. Because of this, he had the confidence to challenge the experts of the 8 sections. Even a god martial arts realm cultivator would be helpless against a top-notch master formation, not to mention whether there were any god martial arts realm cultivators in the 8 sections. Even if there were, Qin Shujian was confident that he would not let them return. It was also at this moment. According to Qin Shujian's instructions, Niu Feng immediately got someone to draft a letter of challenge and send it directly to the 8 sections. At the same time, he also got someone to spread the news of the letter of challenge. Instantly, the entire Liang Mountain spirit domain was in an uproar. Originally, the experts of the 8 sects failed to kill the elders of the Yuan sect, and in the end, 8 airborne realm experts died. Among them, the Celestial sect even lost their Taoist artifact, the Mountain Suppressing Seal. In the eyes of others, the 8 sects would fight the Yuan sect sooner or later. It was just a matter of time. Many people were guessing, how would the Yuan sect face the alliance of the 8 sects? After all, compared to the Celestial sect and the other sects of the spirit region, even though the Sky Origin sect had over 1,000 domain enlightened spirit gods, and even had a sect master at the prominent spirit stage holding down the fort, but in terms of foundation, the Sky Origin sect was still greatly inferior to the 8 sections. Such a gap wasn't something that more than 1,000 spirit god cultivators could make up for. Unless the Yuan sect had a few more prominent sage stage experts, then it was possible for them to be evenly matched. However, even if there were 1,000 spirit god cultivators, it was unknown if a single prominent sage stage cultivator could be born. The fact that the Yuan sect master was able to reach the prominent sage stage had already exceeded everyone's expectations. It was obviously impossible for a second prominent sage stage expert to appear in a short period of time. Moreover, the reason Qin Shujian was able to reach the prominent sage stage so quickly was because there were rumors that he was the reincarnation of an almighty. That was why his cultivation realm could rise so quickly. In regards to this saying, many people were rather convinced. However, an almighty reincarnation was just an almighty reincarnation. An almighty that hadn't completely recovered to the peak was merely a slightly stronger prominent sage stage cultivator. Now, however, the other party had directly challenged the experts of the 8 sections. Such courage and boldness had undoubtedly shocked everyone. Moreover, this news, under the influence of the Yuan sect, it quickly rushed out of the Liang Mountain spirit region like the wind, and spread to the various true regions and spirit regions. Even the great regions had received the news. Preposterous. Qin Shujian is going too far. Within the Celestial sect's main hall, Zhong Lin's face was filled with rage, and he couldn't help but shout furiously. Apart from him, most of the other elders of the Celestial sect revealed furious expressions as well. They originally thought that after offending the Yuan sect of the 8 sects, they wouldn't dare to make too big of a commotion. In the end, they didn't expect that the other party actually had the guts to directly issue a challenge to the Celestial sect. This made the elders of the Celestial sect feel as if they'd been slapped in the face. They had the illusion that their faces were burning. However, some were furious. There were also some who maintained their calm demeanor. After crushing the challenge letter in his hand into powder, Zhao Zunji looked at Zhang Shengming and said indifferently, "Grand Elder, what do you think of the Yuan sect's challenge letter this time? There's definitely something fishy going on. Qin Shujian should have some tricks up his sleeve that we don't know about." Zhang Shengming shook his head slightly and said, "Perhaps he really is the reincarnation of an almighty being and has some tricks up his sleeves. If he wasn't the reincarnation of an almighty being and had some unknown tricks up his sleeves, how would the other party have the guts to issue a challenge letter?" Zhao Zunji's expression was indifferent as he sneered. So what if he's the reincarnation of an almighty being? No matter how strong he is, He's just a prominent divine stage cultivator. Could it be that he can rely on his own strength to overturn the heavens? Although he was also shocked by Qin Shujian's actions, he wasn't too worried. It didn't matter if the other party had some secret technique, or if he wanted to gain the upper hand by showing his strength first. To Zhao Zunji, none of these could change the fate of the Yuan sect. Seems like our original guess about him having some treasure was wrong. I didn't expect him to really be the reincarnation of an almighty being. Zhao Zunji sneered and shook his head. However, he seems to have forgotten one thing. The current him isn't the almighty being of the past that was ranked above the divine martial stage. The current him is just a prominent divine stage cultivator. If he were to throw away the dignity of an almighty being and live with his tail between his legs, he might still have a chance to live. However, acting in such a high-profile manner will only lead to death. Zhao Zunji's confidence. This also made the other celestial sect elders calm down. After all, the other party was able to become the sect leader of the celestial sect. He himself was an extremely frightening expert, and was also the spiritual pillar of the celestial sect. As long as he didn't have any problems, then even if the Yuan sect had something to rely on, it wouldn't be a problem. Zhang Shiming said, "Then what does the sect leader plan to do? Since he said that we'll fight in the Undying Plains 3 days later, I'll agree to it. If we act in advance, others will look down on the celestial sect." Sect leader, it's better to be cautious. The Supreme Elder has already come out of seclusion. When the time comes, he will follow us. Supreme Elder. At this moment, even Zhang Xingming couldn't maintain his calm expression as his face was filled with shock. As for the other celestial sect elders, their faces were filled with shock. Obviously, Grand Elder, these 3 words caused enormous waves in their hearts. Chapter 254. Challenge the 8 sects? Marquis Baiyun was surprised when he heard the news. Xiaohong nodded and said, "Now that the news has spread like wildfire, it has already spread to half of the North Cloud Mansion. Sect Master Sky Origin is going to challenge the 8 great sects of the 4 great spiritual domains at the Immortal Plains 2 days later." When he heard the news, he was stunned for a long time. The 8 sects had a deep foundation and many experts. Given Yuanzong's current foundation, it was difficult for him to be their enemy. Xiaohong thought, Qin Shujian might ask for help from Marquis Baiyun. After all, he had told Marquis Baiyun what he had told him. If he had the support of the imperial court, the 8 sects wouldn't dare to go too far. However, he never expected that Qin Shujian would be so stubborn. He directly issued a letter of challenge, and even sent people to spread the news of the challenge. That's right. The news was spread by Yuanzong. This was no secret to Xiaohong. As one of the stewards of the Baiyun Mansion, he had a good grasp of the Baiyun Mansion's intelligence. Besides, Yuanzong's actions weren't too secretive. It wasn't difficult for him to find out the truth. Speaking of this, Xiaohong cupped his hands and said, "Marquis, rumor has it that Qin Shujian is the reincarnation of an almighty. Is this true?" It doesn't matter whether he is the reincarnation of an almighty or not. Many experts reincarnate in the past, but they are not their original selves when they are reborn. He is Qin Shujian now, and he will be Qin Shujian in the future. Marquis Baiyun shook his head slightly and didn't give a direct answer. However, since he dares to challenge the 8 sects, he should have some mysterious trump cards. We should pay attention to this. 2 days later, you will go and watch the battle on behalf of the Baiyun Mansion. Yes, Marquis Baiyun. Xiaohong bowed and accepted the order. In the end, Marquis Baiyun added, "If Yuanzong loses, save his life. I know what to do. Okay, you may leave." Soon, only Marquis Baiyun was left in the study. Soon, in the study, a black shadow appeared from the ground and then turned into a masked man in black. When he saw Marquis Baiyun, he immediately knelt on one knee and said calmly from behind the mask. Reporting to the Marquis of Qianshan invited 2 formation masters from somewhere and set up a killing array. More than half of the 1,000,000 troops sent by the imperial court were killed, and 2 cultivators of the divine martial realm died. 2 array masters. Marquis Baiyun's eyes narrowed slightly. He should have been very surprised that Marquis Qianshan had an array Dao Grandmaster. After all, for the other party to be able to set up such a huge heaven-sealing earth-locking array, there must be a formation Dao Grandmaster behind them. However, he didn't expect. Marquis Baiyun had Baiyun was Baiyun. Thinking of this, Marquis Baiyun continued, Continue. The array master of the imperial court who came with the army was defeated and was attacked by 2 array masters of the Marquis of Qianshan. Now, he is seriously injured. The allied forces of the various feudal lords and the imperial court are confronting the rebel army in Thousand Mountains Prefecture. To Baiyun. I'll take my leave. Then, the masked man in black quietly left the study. Gu Chongqing, you're too impatient. Or do you have someone behind you? Marquis Baiyun looked confused and didn't look at the scroll on the table. The news that the current human emperor was about to die was no secret. At least, to the Marquis of Northern Cloud and the others, this was an obvious matter. However, even if his lifespan was nearing its end, it was only nearing its end. That Ren Huang was far from dying. As long as he didn't die, the human emperor would always be the human emperor. Marquis Qianshan was the first to rebel as one of the 13 prefectures. He would undoubtedly become the target of public criticism. If the human emperor was angry and attacked personally, Qianshan Prefecture would be turned into ashes in an instant. But even so, Marquis Qianshan still dared to do this. He must have the confidence to face the human emperor. However, Marquis Baiyun was puzzled. What kind of force was supporting him from behind? Or what kind of powerhouse did he have that he dared to not fear the Renhuang? On the other side, after issuing the letter of challenge, Qin Shujian had been cultivating in Yuan sect. Although victory was in his hands after breaking through to the Master Realm. However, it was better to be prepared than to be able to increase his strength. Moreover, after obtaining the top Master Realm formation, he had deduced a lot of things from it with his Master Realm vision. A formation. In fact, it was all-encompassing. However, it wasn't so easy to deduce a formation on the same level as the God-slaying demon annihilation formation. Even a Master Realm formation was the same. One day before the challenge, the disciples of Yuan sect who went to the Endless Mountain Range to kill monsters had also returned. After all, the Endless Mountain Range that belonged to the Liang Mountain Range wasn't too vast. With the strength of more than 1,000 Spirit God Realm cultivators and 2 doctrine artifacts, the difficulty of killing monsters had been reduced a lot. In the inherited Martial Hall. This time, we killed a total of 836 monsters in the Spirit Martial Realm. Among them, 253 were in the Airborne Realm, 73 were in the Vision Saint Realm, and 3 were at the peak of the Vision Saint Realm. As for those below the Spirit Martial Realm, there were a total of 5,862 monsters, and they range from the first level of the True Martial Realm to the peak of the True Martial Realm. We seized a total of 1,516 beast cores, 873 of which were in the Spirit Martial Realm. Amongst them, every single monster in the Airborne Realm and Vision Saint Realm contributed a single beast core. Besides that, we gathered a huge amount of spirit flowers and herbs, and the exact amount is still being calculated. Su Yuaming reported everything he'd obtained this time. Qin Shujian's expression didn't change at all, but the expressions of the other elders changed drastically when they heard the exact amount. Over 800 monsters at the Spirit Martial Realm. There were even almost 80 at the Vision Saint Realm. What sort of concept was this? This meant that even the 8 sects combined didn't have so many experts. The only difference was, the cultivators of the 8 sects knew how to join forces, and they wouldn't give them a chance to deal with them one by one. Conversely, the monsters weren't very intelligent, and it was easy for them to deal with them one by one. This was also the reason why they were able to obtain such results. If these monsters were intelligent and knew how to form a formation or gather their companions, then these 1,000-plus Spirit God Realm cultivators of Yuan sect would absolutely not be enough to fill the gaps between their teeth. It could be seen from this. Exactly how great were the hidden dangers of these monsters. Zheng Feng sighed. Presently, It has only been a month since the spirit region advanced. Yet so many monsters at the spirit martial realm have already appeared in the endless mountain range. If the sect master didn't ask us to head over and annihilate them, once these monsters have formed a large scale in the future, I'm afraid it would be difficult to resist them when a monster tide comes. If it was said that he didn't really agree with Qin Shujian's actions in the past, then at this moment, he didn't have any objections at all. In less than a month, the endless mountain range had already formed such a large scale. If they were to leave it alone, then the number of monsters in the endless mountain range would definitely increase day by day. At that time, another monster tide like the sky-piercing ape would come. Then it would absolutely be difficult for Yuan sect to resist it. This wasn't a wild guess. So long as there was even a trace of possibility, then it was worth being vigilant against. Now, it was naturally extremely beneficial for Yuan sect to annihilate these monsters before the monster tide arose. Even if they had to pay a price to maintain it, it would be worth it. Not to mention, if they could completely digest the gains they obtained from the endless mountain range this time, it would be sufficient to increase their strength greatly. After all, if they refined the beast cores into medicinal pills, it would be enough for many Yuan sect disciples to break through to the next realm. Qin Shujian said, all the gains this time will be stored in the warehouse. If the alchemy hall and the forging hall need it, you can go to the warehouse to get a batch of resources, especially the supply of medicinal pills. It must be able to keep up with the consumption. At this point, his gaze fell on Shun Yuhua. Elder Yuhua, I wonder how many people in the alchemy hall have been promoted to an inferior alchemist, and how many of them can start to refine medicinal pills. Hearing this, Shen Yuhua didn't hesitate for long and immediately replied, Sect Master, there are currently 2 inferior alchemists in the alchemy hall, one of whom is a mutant. As for the alchemy apprentices, there are a total of 7 of them. If they want to be promoted to an inferior alchemist, I'm afraid it will take some time. Hearing this, Qin Shujian nodded slightly. In just a few months, there were 2 more low-grade alchemists. This was already very surprising to him. However, it wasn't difficult to get started in alchemy, but it was extremely difficult to reach a certain realm. As Yuan's sect grew stronger, if Shen Yuhua was the only superior alchemist in the alchemy hall, it would ultimately be insufficient. Besides that, if Shen Yuqing was the only one in the foundry hall, it would no longer be enough. At this moment, Qin Shujian already had plans to expand the alchemy hall and the foundry hall. However, it was just a plan. Before the problem of the 8 sects was solved, everything had to be put aside for the time being. Sect Master, what do you plan to arrange for tomorrow's battle with the 8 sects? Arrangements? Qin Shujian shook his head and smiled faintly. There's no need for any arrangements. Everything in the sect will continue as usual. I can deal with the 8 sects alone. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone looked at each other in dismay. Originally, when they received the news that Qin Shujian had invited the 8 sects to battle, they thought that the other party had made some arrangements and then combined the power of Yuan's sect to destroy the 8 sects in one fell swoop on the immortal plains. However, looking at the other party's current actions, it seemed as if he was going to fight alone. Zhang Fang said in a deep voice, there are many experts in the 8 sections. Although Sect Master is powerful, it's still too risky to fight alone. If there's a mistake, I'm afraid there will be a huge turmoil in the sect. In the battle on the immortal plains tomorrow, the people of the 8 sects will not be able to return. You just need to stabilize the situation in Yuan's sect. I'll take care of the rest. Don't worry too much. Qin Shujian's tone didn't allow for refusal. As for the fact that he was already an array master, he didn't plan to reveal it now. It was better to be safe than sorry. It wasn't that he didn't trust the elders of Yuan's sect, but there was no impenetrable wall in the world. If the news leaked out in advance, the 8 sects might not come as promised. Until tomorrow, Qin Shujian was already prepared to let the people of the 8 sects experience the fear of being dominated by an array master. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.